Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Zoe's Treasures. My name's Tracy. As always, I'm here with my husband, Noel. He's in the background doing our cameras and our graphics. So you're going to say hello this morning, my love.
Good morning, everybody.
All right. Good morning, Monster Mama. Good morning, Taco Cat Lady, Southern Charm. Previously mentioned, hello, hello. Hope you guys are doing well. I am Monster Mama. Thank you for asking. I was about to talk about that because I have some huge shout outs and thank yous to give to some people today because of stepping in for me this week. So a lot of you know, if you were in my shows at all this week or were on any of the raid trains I was supposed to either be running or participating in, Wednesday morning after my Wednesday morning show, I got so sick. So I woke up when, let's backtrack. I was in Indiana 2 weeks ago, come home from Indiana with a cold. Didn't think it was that bad. It was just a cold, right? Kind of, worked my way through it. I was still existing. It was fine. Then Tuesday, I woke up Tuesday morning. I'm like, wow, I feel wonderful. Like I thought, okay, it's finally gone. I broke through, cold's gone. So I wake up Wednesday morning. I do I was a little headachy, whatever. I do the chat show Wednesday morning. And afterwards, I had to go to work. So I was on a phone call for work and I'm like, I'm going to get sick. Like my head started pounding. I was like really feeling bad. So I, let my boss know. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be offline the rest of the day. Good morning, Fair Maiden. So I ended up just going to bed. I had a raid train at 3. I thought, okay, I'll lay down. I'll take, I thought it was a migraine at that point. I'm like, I'll just take some migraine pills. I'll be fine. I got up and I could not stand up for more than 3 seconds without the whole room spinning and feeling like I was going to faint and throw up. And it was bad the whole day. So I had to be on a raid train. I am a firm believer you cannot cancel on a raid train at the last minute. I kind of did. Well, I did, but let me kind of explain what happened. So I had a spot in the Come Fall in Love raid train that was hosted by Grammy G 55502 and Shalom, y'all. Thank you to both of them so much because right before I was supposed to go on at 3, I'm messaging them. I am super sick. I am going to go on, but is there any way the next person, which was Christy's girl, could come on early so I can raid? Because there is no way I'm going to make it through an hour spot. And I am not one to cancel shows like that. Like I'm like power through, do your thing. I couldn't stand up. The whole show, I think I'm standing there like this, holding my stomach. Like it was bad. Anyways, thank you so much for them, for Grammy G and Shalom, y'all, for understanding. And then for Christy girl coming on early so that I could raid early. It was a lifesaver. So raided out, went right back to bed, thought, okay, just sleep it off. I was supposed to be running the new Solar Surge raid train that night. I get up right before my time slot, a little after 6. I had everything set, had my notes. I was just going to do 10 minutes. I was just going to introduce people, kick off the train. Then I was going to lay in bed and mod, right? I couldn't. There was no way. I would stand up and I'm like, I'm going to be sick. So I had to back out of my own raid train, which I am ashamed to say. However, these new sellers, I'll tell you what, Whatnot is such a community. I'm about to tell you who they were. They were wonderful. They were so supportive. They went on, carried on the train. It went great as far as I'm aware of. I was out cold. And then I slept for like the next 24 hours. So I'm feeling better today. But let me tell you what, Small Town Finds, previously mentioned, and if you're here, throw some hearts, throw something in the chat so people could just give you kudos. Small Town Finds, previously mentioned, Basement Brats Art, Thrifting with Soul, and Sapphire 804. Y'all, thank you so much for carrying on without me. I felt so terrible for canceling last minute, but I literally could not stand. I was not functioning. Thank you so much. It was to the point that my husband was calling a friend of ours, should I take her to the ER? I don't know what to do. I don't get sick like that very often. So thank you, everybody. I am feeling good. You know how you feel like you guys have those days where you're not quite 100%, but you're okay? That's how I feel today. I am definitely not going to go work out or go do anything strenuous, but I can do my normal house stuff. That's where I'm at. So let's put all that aside. Thank you so much. I have to say, I was so impressed with the community and the support and the people reaching out to me. And it's, you're not going to get this on another app. This is unique to Whatnot. So. All right. So we are on, thank you so much. We are on week 5 of our live seller collection. Quarter one, the private ledger. I do want to mention really quick, you guys. So all of these Friday shows we do stream to YouTube. Noelle will put that across the screen so you can see. If you ever want to go back and watch this, you can always watch for free on YouTube. I do have a workbook that goes along with these shows. Not necessary to buy. You can if you want. It's there for your purchase if you so desire. But these shows are either could be watched as a standalone, and they also build. So we're on week 5, and they will be building throughout the whole year. In the bin is our workbook. So basically each week, that is week 4, but we'll still show it to you. You get the 5 business topics we talk about, the 5 tax topics, and then there's a page for like action items and reflection for you to kind of like figure out, well, how does this apply to my business? What do I think about it? And so forth. So that is in the bin. Because we are, 2 days away from February, 1 day away from February, I did mark it down because that is for the first quarter. And we are already 5 weeks in. So the price has been marked down. There is also a PDF version if you're interested, and that price has been marked down too. And just in all transparency, quarter 2 will be coming out in a couple of weeks. And what we'll do is we'll bundle quarter 1 and quarter 2. So it'll be even cheaper to buy both of them together in a couple of weeks, just to let you know so you can make your decisions. Pardon, my love. Yes, I have some work to catch up on. Yes. Okay. Did anybody see the CEO's email that came out? I don't know, a couple days ago. The CEO of Whatnot sent out an email, kind of a State of the Union, where Whatnot is type of email. If you have not, it was a really eye-opening, informative email. I absolutely recommend that you go check your inboxes and read that. I am going to be digging into that Monday. So my Monday and Wednesday shows are usually more, I try to make them like unscripted, no notes. I don't think I'm really gonna have a lot of notes, but I do want to talk about that on Monday. Just because I thought there was so much good stuff and so many kind of just eye-opening moments in there. So if you haven't read it, highly suggest, go find it. It was good. It's not super long. And then come back Monday and we'll talk about it. I'll try to answer questions about it if I can, but I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions about it and just kind of like jump off of some of the points that the CEO made.
And for those of you who don't know, Whatnot Sellers is having a community chat on the 4th talking about new product updates. So bookmark.
Yep. And you guys, did you hear, is anybody on the last Whatnot Sellers show? Our podcast, if you have not heard it, I know I talk about it all the time. I'm going to keep talking about it. You just got to get used to hearing me talk about it. Good morning, White Oak. Our podcast got a shout out. So I was so excited that on something so big as Whatnot Sellers, that our podcast, when I say our, it is the podcast we do on YouTube. It is myself, Zoe's Treasures, Green 13, so Jeremy from Green 13, and Tony and Lysandra from I Love Discounts. So we do a reselling roundtable podcast every Sunday night at 6:30. This Sunday is actually our second show, and we got a shout out. And I am super excited, you guys. We have over 200 subscribers. Are we at 200 or just over? I don't know. Just over 200 subscribers, and this is only our second show. So let's see. Let me unpin this so we can see it. There you go. So I'm really excited about this. It's growing faster than any of us imagined it would grow. And speaking of YouTube, we are noticing, like I said, my shows are always multicast to YouTube, and we are noticing more and more people, particularly on Friday mornings, watching from YouTube. Hello, if you are out there in YouTube land, come on over. You can click this little one of these sides. QR code, and you can come to Whatnot and ask questions. But if you are on YouTube, you can ask questions from there too. We do have somebody monitoring that, and we will answer them if we see them come up. So that's kind of like the whole everything like that's going on. Good morning, Coastal Peacock. Seeing who else am I missing? Hello to anybody who's just coming in that I have not said hello to. Real quick, what's coming up? Glow show. If you like glowy glass, I have glowy glass. Tomorrow is my glowy show, 4 p.m. Eastern, and it is probably 50 to 70 pieces. I haven't quite counted yet. I do know I have quite a bit of glass that glows, all different shapes, colors, sizes, styles, you name it. It is glowy glass. I have just a tad bit behind me. I just started loading my shelves, but every single piece of glass will glow, and everything starts at $1, and shipping is $4.50 max. So if you like glowy glass, there's your chance to come and get a huge selection. I do not preload for Saturdays, but I do have it. I will put everything on the shelves behind me, and I'll put a video up this evening so you can check out the video and kind of get an idea on what is there. All right, that is everything for my housekeeping stuff I wanted to touch on before we got started today. So today's topics, and if you have questions as I'm going through, please, please, please. I love this so much more. Thank you so much, Coastal Peacock. I love this so much more when it's interactive, when you guys are asking questions. So please feel free at any time to put questions in. If I'm on a little roll, I may wait a second before I answer it, but I always do try to come back to it. Good morning, mamas. So today we are talking about, in our business hour, defining your why as a live seller. We're building, like I said, some points are going to sound a little familiar because we're building and building off of what we've been talking about. And then in our tax, this is the one I think a lot of people are going to be interested in. For our tax hour, we are going to talk about choosing the right business structure. I'm going to go over the top 4 structures, what they are, what they mean, kind of why you would choose each one or why you wouldn't, just kind of the implications of each. Yes, it's always on YouTube, so you can always go back to YouTube and watch us at any time. A little plus not floated on the screen. Anyone know what that means? I have no idea. Cynthia's Attic, that's a good question. If anybody does, let me know. I'm going to learn something this morning.
That was me.
Oh, it's sharing the show. Okay.
Yes, I put the show on YouTube, so for YouTube friends, they can come and join us through the link.
Well, see, I only see it in the chat where it says share the show. But because we run on a computer and I'm watching the whole thing on a TV right in front of me, a lot of the notifications don't come up on this screen. So a lot of those miscellaneous things I do not see. Actually, I should open it over here on my iPad so I can see stuff, if I can pay attention to it. All right, so let's start. Let's start with our, I'm sorry, my love. Let's see, am I missing? Well, hello, Crafty Fairies. All right. If I'm missing you, I don't mean to miss you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Hi, Kimmy.
Good morning, Kimmy. Wait a second, guys. I gotta do this for Kimmy. Here we go, Kimmy. Are you awake? Are you awake, Kimmy? Give me a yes or no.
I'm getting an apology. Go ahead, go for it.
All right, here we go, Kimmy. This is for you, Kimmy.
Good morning, Sandog. All right, fireworks first thing this morning. So let's talk about our first point under defining your why as a live seller. Purpose sustains momentum. So we're going to talk about how your purpose is going to sustain your momentum. Your purpose is your why. Before I do that, what made you start selling in the first place? What was your first why or first purpose? What is it that you're like, oh, this looks cool. I need money. If you're willing to share, throw it in the chat. What made you start selling live in the very first place? Single mom. So to me, that means single mom needs some money to connect with people. And the reasons are usually all over the board. There's so many different reasons. We all have our own personal reasons. For fun. Yep, something to do. This has become something far more entertaining to me than I thought. It's not just all business. Help you eliminate your mortgage. Awesome. Get rid of stuff. Replacing a husband's income. Yep. That's not TMI at all. Sick of static platforms. Daisy Lane. Oh my gosh. So yes, I can so agree with that. All right. So we all, as you can see, we all have different reasons why, but we're here doing the same thing, right? Stay off disability after chronic illness. So sorry to hear that. Thank you for sharing. Too much stuff. Yep. And to help hubby retire. My why was I wanted something. I love my 9-to-5, but I wanted something more. I wanted something that I really liked, and I have been reselling for years and years. but not at this level. It was hit or miss, something here on eBay, something on Facebook Marketplace. We have some to market crafts, revenue streams, flea market vendor, killing your back. Oh yeah, the setup, tear down, absolutely. So I found something that I love to do. I found something I got excited about. And then my daughter started, not professional cheer, all-star cheer, competitive cheerleading. And I'm like, a little extra money to help pay for a super expensive sport wouldn't be bad. And that kind of led into something else. So whatever your why is, hold on to that, but also know that why could change. That why could morph into something else as time goes on. But there's always a reason why we started. And I think it's so important for us not to lose sight of what that why is. Stay-at-home mom for 37 years and looking for a way to clean out, and help. Exactly, yep. And retirement from your 9 to 5. And this is a big one. A lot of people start to do this and they're like, wow, I'm making some money. I may be able to get away from working for somebody else and just work for myself. So let's just talk about why it's so important to understand your purpose and your why. So to begin with, motivation, you hear it all the time. How does everybody hears, oh, I just need a little motivation. I have some motivation to get started, or I'm just not motivated today, right? Yes, definitely changes over time. It morphs. Motivation is what's going to get you started, but your purpose is what's going to keep you showing up. Your why is what's going to keep you showing up. You may look around your house and be like, yeah, I got a lot of stuff. It'd be nice to get rid of it. Yeah, I'll get rid of some of this stuff. That's motivation. But then your purpose, it becomes, wow, I'm really enjoying this clean house. I want to keep it this way. That comfort that you get from it, that becomes your purpose as you move forward. And there's a big difference between motivation and purpose. And this is a kind of a fun topic to really dive into. It's something I talk with my son about a lot. He's 22-year-old young guy, and he'll be like, I'm just not motivated. And I'm like, it's not even motivation, it's purpose. It's your drive. It's why. Why do you need to do whatever the topic is that we may be talking about when I'm talking to him? Motivation's emotional. And you've got to understand the differences to really understand why it's so important to have that purpose and not rely on your motivation. Motivation is emotional. It fluctuates just like our emotions. What's good for P&L? On my PDFs, what is good for P&L really quick, I can tell you. Probably the one all about financial statements is going to be the one that's going to dive into your P&L the most. Motivation is usually external. We're usually motivated by something else. I see pictures of all these pretty young girls on the internet. Now I want to lose weight. I'm motivated by looking at somebody else. My jeans are too tight. I'm motivated because my jeans are too tight to lose weight. I see somebody else, making it big on whatnot. That's my motivation. But your motivation usually starts from something external. While we bring it in, it usually starts outwards and it reacts to your circumstances. That kind of ties to motivation being emotional. So as you can see, motivation, you get those highs and lows, it's waning, it comes and goes. We can't depend on our motivation to keep showing up here. I want to talk about some of the hardships we go through as sellers. So motivation doesn't get you through those hardships. It's your why. Let's talk about what your purpose and your why is. Your why or your purpose is intentional. There is some meat behind it, right? It's stable. It doesn't fluctuate with how you feel. Your purpose is stable. It's not going anywhere. It's internal usually. It's driven from a desire within you, not because somebody else looks good in the new jeans that are, the trending jeans, or somebody else ran a marathon, now you want to run the marathon, or somebody else is successful and whatnot, now you want to be. No, purpose comes from inside of you. I can't find Yep, if you compare, we're going to talk a lot about comparison today. And actually, I have a little bit of different take on comparison, but we're going to talk about it in a little bit. Your purpose directs your decisions. If you made every decision based on motivation, where would you be? I wouldn't have got out of bed this morning. I'll tell you what, when my alarm went off at 5:30, I was dang tired. If I existed off of my motivation, I would have canceled the show and went back to bed. But instead, my purpose kicks in and I'm here doing what I love to do. I moved to Whatnot because it is the next relevant things. Absolutely. It is growing so much. And your purpose, it directs those decisions regardless of your mood, right? There are days when you're just like, heck with everything. I'm not doing this, right? Or there's days when you're like, people aren't buying, I'm done. I mean, hey, we've all experienced, whether you show it outwardly or not, we all have those mood shifts because of what's happening externally. That's not purpose. Purpose keeps driving regardless of all of that. So let's give some examples to kind of solidify the difference between your purpose and your motivation. So motivation says, I'll learn accounting when I feel ready. That's motivation. Depends on feeling, depends on your emotions, right? I'll learn it when I'm ready. Versus a purpose-driven mindset, I'll track expenses and income weekly because clarity protects my business and my future. That honors the plan. That's intentional. That's purpose. That's doing something maybe that you don't want to do, don't like to do, don't enjoy doing, because it's purposely helping you reach your goal, purposely helping you in your business versus, I just don't feel like doing it, right? Another example, you know what? I forgot to do some giveaways. Let me do some giveaways here. All right. Giveaways are, I have new CEO affirmation cards. So you're going to get an affirmation card, postcard, and rewards card. That is going to be all of our giveaways today. Okay, let me get back over here. So, motivation perspective says, I want to sell because I'm excited about the items. That's great. How many people do you hear say, I want to sell because I'm super excited about this stuff. I love mugs, or I love hens on the nest, so I want to sell. I love, rock and roll music, so I'm going to sell band tees, or I'm going to sell vinyl albums. That's great. That's a good starting point, but that's not purpose. That's motivation. Motivation chases excitement. Again, that goes back to a feeling, right? Your purpose, the purpose says, I'm selling because I've committed to a revenue target. I need money. That revenue target supports my cash flow and my tax planning. Your purpose aligns with your financial intent. There was a few people in the chat earlier that said, I'm doing this because I'm a single mom. I'm doing this because I want to replace a husband's income. I'm doing this because I need to replace any other type of income or make money. So you don't just say, oh, I'm selling because, hey, it feels great. It's, I'm doing this to make money. That knowledge that, hey, I need this paycheck for something will drive you, will help you focus. It's intentional, it's stable, it's internal. It's not that wavering up and down. Forgotten memories, hello. My husband's giving me my hair's rubbing on my mic thing. So live selling, so let's just kind of talk about how this kind of wraps it up. Live selling is not the highlight reel. Live selling looks like fun. We get up here, we have a great time for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long you're on. Because let's face it, this is the fun part. Getting up here, even if you're nervous, even if you're afraid to show your face, this is the fun part. And it's like any other job that you're going to do. There's going to be parts that you love and parts that are like, okay, this is part of the job. It's your purpose that gets you through all of it. If all live selling was hit that go live button and be cheerful and sell some stuff and show some stuff and make some money, anybody can do it. Anybody would be able to do it. But it is more to that. And why? And in order to get through to get through the slow chats, quiet mornings when people aren't talking, the packing, absolutely. The long nights you're up packing, you're preparing for shows, you're creating thumbnails, you're posting on your social media or doing whatever you're doing. The shows that don't convert, the shows where nobody talks, the shows where nobody buys. And sourcing when you're like, what the heck? Where did all the stuff go? Why is everything overpriced? Why can't I get good stuff?
And even if you're not packing, even if you have people that you hire to help you, you still have to make ends meet for you and all of them. So that's part of the pressure.
Yeah. Cataloging inventory. It's all of that stuff. All of that. If I went solely off motivation and said, okay, I love going live, none of that other stuff would get done. Networking, exactly. None of that would get done if I didn't have a purpose, if I didn't have my why, this is why that why and purpose is so vital to you, and you being able to recognize what that why and purpose is, because that's what gets you through the ugly side of reselling. There is an ugly side to this. And last week I talked about that. I think I need a disclaimer for my show. I'm not going to sit up here and say, follow me, make $1 million, make 6 figures, make this. I was successful, so could you be. I'm not going to do that. I think if you work hard and you apply yourself and you apply sound business principles, you can be successful. But there's no secret sauce to it. It is you having your purpose and sticking through the ugly side of reselling, because there is an ugly side to it. And the people trying to sell you all kinds of stuff are selling you a hope and a dream. And ugliness doesn't sell hopes and dreams. We're going to talk about the ugly side today, at least right now, a little bit of it. The grind. That's right. I may make it sound a little worse than it is. It's the grind. Now, some of those things you may like. There may be some people who are like, I love packing. I've met these people, not in real life, but like speaking to them through whatnot, that they love packing. But there is always something in the mix. If you go from A to Z and everything you have to do as a live seller, there's always something in the mix that's not your favorite part of the job, right? It's like that with any job. But if you know why you're doing it, you can put up with that. You could be like, you know what? This is just part of it. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to do it. All right. Oh, who's going to get that first giveaway today? Natasha. Congratulations. You got that first giveaway.
Congratulations.
We're going to start another one. Okay. When your why is clear, then those moments, they don't derail you. They become part of the process, not a reason just to quit, right? It's just part of the process. They're easier to accept. They're easier to get through. A show that doesn't set, when you don't sell anything, is it heartbreaking? Absolutely. It doesn't mean you're not going to feel feelings. You're not going to have disappointment. That's natural and that's normal. But your purpose says, you know what? It categorizes it. It says, it makes it logical. That was just a show that nobody bought. That's okay. I probably made some connections. Maybe somebody came in who didn't know about me. I'm going to do it again next week, or I'm going to do it again tomorrow, whenever your next show is. That's the purpose. The motivation part of it is, oh, that's disappointing. Maybe I shouldn't do this again. And then your purpose kicks in and says, you know what? No, I'm not going to let one bad show derail me. Or I'm not going to let one 12-hour marathon day of packing derail me, right? Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Yes, exactly. And I'll tell you what, I sell mainly vintage decor. There are days where every day, every Sunday, I am packing for hours upon hours. And I will be completely honest. There are times when I'm like, whew, I don't know if this is worth it. I've been in this, basement for 8 hours. And then I think about the big picture, and I think about why I'm doing this. And I think about the future I'm building and the foundation I'm laying down for my retirement. And I'm like, no, I can get through. Turn on Grey's Anatomy, watch some, binge watch something while I'm packing, and just plow right through, right? A lot of times I like to try to tie, these talks, when you start to go from a reseller to a CEO. Mama says, I compare it to selling at the flea market. You got people who keep going, ones that linger, and ones who stay and buy. 100%. It is just like that, isn't it? Couldn't agree more. Thank you for your purchase. Anything you guys buy, if it has a PDF version of any sort, make sure you're sending me a DM with your email. After the show, we try to get these out as soon as we possibly can, usually within a couple of hours. All right. So I like to tie a lot of what we're talking about on these Friday talk shows to a CEO perspective. We go from a reseller to a CEO, because we are the chief executive officers of our businesses, right? So CEOs don't rely on hype days to stay consistent. They rely on purpose. So just remember, CEOs rely on purpose. Let me give you a real life example, because I always like to tie this to like outside of whatnot too. If you have a regular brick and mortar store, and a lot of you guys have booths or brick and mortar stores, right? If you have a brick and mortar store and you have one slow Tuesday afternoon, do you immediately say, oh, got to close shut the store down, lock up the locks, and I'm done. That's it. Nobody came in this Tuesday afternoon. No, that would be stupid, wouldn't it? That would be kind of absurd. You never heard like of a store just closing because they had one bad day. It's the same for us. But you know why we tend to think it even more is because it's so easy on Whatnot to walk away. We don't have a brick and mortar that we have to pay a lease for and have move inventory around. It's so easy to walk away from this that we allow motivation to direct us versus relying on our purpose and our why to drive us and propel us. So kind of that just kind of sums up my first point. Thank you guys for agreeing. I appreciate that. All right. Second kind of point under this business topic, why your why. Thank you so much, Kimmy. Your why guides your boundaries. So, what do you say yes to? Question for all of you. What have you said yes to, or what do you say yes to that drains you? We all have something we say yes to that drains you in your business. Dress up trains, double tray. Yes, yes. My big one is rate trades. Honestly, it's where I'm pulling back this year. I agree with you. Sourcing drains you. Yep. Say yes to too much sourcing, too often, whatever it may be. Raid trains. I'm seeing a trend here with raid trains. So there is something, you guys, and you don't have to share. Some of it's personal, and I don't expect anybody to share anything too personal. Good morning. I love discounts. Hoarding for trains. So we all have something, organization. There's something that drains us that we say yes to in our business that drains us. That's just not good for us. So when your why is not clear, you can easily be pulled in every direction. Previously mentioned, you got that giveaway. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Trains are fun but distracting. Yes. We started trains. We did start trains. Overwhelmed of too much inventory. Paying taxes drains you. Yes, Southern Charm. What was that? Good morning, Burlap Barn. How are you? Sourcing for inventory is emotionally draining when it sits there and stares at me when it's on the shelf. It is when it doesn't sell. It could be draining when we say yes to inventory that doesn't fit our purpose. It's draining. Why? Our purpose, whatever our why is, directs our goals. Our goals then direct our decisions. Let's see. Hold on. My husband's saying I'm missing something. Thank you so much, Sapphire. I'm not sure if you were here earlier, but I did give a huge shout out to all of you on the train. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you for carrying on without me. All right. Your why ties into your big goal. You have your purpose, right? First of all, you have a purpose. That's what we're talking about. Your why, your purpose. Then your goals are aligned under that purpose. Every decision then that you make flows into your goals, which flows into your purpose. These aren't standalone concepts. Your purpose is your umbrella. Your purpose is what covers you up and directs everything, and everything fits underneath it. So when you have a why, it easily guides your decisions. When you don't, you are all over the place. How many of you have seen these shows, seen sellers that are chaotic? You don't know if they're coming or going. You don't know if they're selling, clothes one day, vintage one day. Maybe they're over here doing books the next day. It doesn't mean that you can't diversify and you can't have, but you have seen them that you wonder to yourself, what do they sell? Are they just all over sellers? I mean, if you're in a storage unit category, you're going to sell a whole miscellaneous stuff, but you're in storage units. Like, you've seen sellers that are so all over the place. You're like, and it's chaotic. And not only is it chaotic to them, it's chaotic to you as a buyer. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit. So when you have a why, you have boundaries. You dabble in a lot. It's okay to dabble. We're gonna kind of get into this in a minute. Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm feeling not 100%, but definitely way better than I was the last few days. So when your why is clear, you have the boundaries guiding all of your decisions. You know what you don't want to accept. You've identified what drains you, and you've eliminated that from your goals and your purpose, and it doesn't fall under your umbrella of your why. It reduces your mental fatigue, your decision fatigue. How many of you? I have decision fatigue. I don't like making a million decisions. I like to be able to say, I know why I'm doing this. Here's my goal. Now, does my show frequency fit this? Is my sourcing fitting this? My why will help me control my impulse buys when I'm sourcing. It'll help me control those late night buys, those 2 a.m. scrolling. Oh, this looks cool. Whether it's sourcing or whether it's just an item I think I need for my business. And then I love different things. It's okay to dabble. I'm not saying it's not, but we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. I have when it comes to sourcing. So you have decision fatigue. Good morning, Amy. You have decision fatigue when it comes to sourcing. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here. We get decision fatigue when it comes to sourcing because we haven't clearly defined what we're sourcing for. How do you know what you're sourcing for? Because you have a why, you have goals, and you know what you're going to sell in your shows. If you haven't aligned everything, if you are just, I'm going to buy everything and anything, how mentally exhausting is that to go sourcing? Pull up any online auction and you'll have a variety of items from baseball bats to fine gems, clothing, everything else. If I don't know who I am, what my why is, what my purpose is, where I'm going with my business, I don't know what to source. And then it becomes tiring. It becomes exhausting. It becomes overwhelming. That's decision fatigue in sourcing. You have to define what you're doing. Do you sell, for me, it's vintage and jewelry. And then in the vintage, I have even stricter boundaries on what I am and am not going to buy. And you know what? It makes it really easy. I see stuff I love all the time when I'm sourcing. And I pick it up and I say, I don't want to ship it. Put it back down and walk away. That is one of the first questions I ask myself. Do I want to ship this? I don't care how much I love it. I don't care how beautiful it is. I don't care how much money I think I can make from it. If I don't want to ship it, that is one of my boundaries. Sapphire 804, you got that giveaway. Thanks for being here this morning.
Congratulations.
I think even in your category, you need to find your niche, then expand a bit, but 100% forgotten memories. I totally agree with that. That's the first question I asked before bringing you stuff in Indianapolis. Thank you, I Love Discounts. I appreciate that. But it is, and you know what? This reduces, I know what my boundaries are when I source. I know what my why has created those boundaries. I don't want to spend all of my time shipping. I don't want to Frankenstein boxes. I want to be able to grab a box and pack it and move forward. It's part of my bigger picture, which drives what I'm going to source for. So
I Love Discounts. I know where her boundaries are. My wallet.
And Good Stuff says, because you will notice something else you like and more inventory you may not be able to sell. Exactly. Southern Charm says, I try to source for a look or a setup. So a certain aesthetic she's going for. And I always have a hard time finding those items. So I source for them and plan for the right look. 100%. So you have boundaries. You already know. It's like having a shopping list. It's like, okay, y'all, if you have teenagers, you may be able to relate to this. You give your teenager $100 and a shopping list, or let's just do it this way. You give them $100 and say, I'm really overwhelmed this week. Please go to the store, grab some groceries for this week. What are they going to come home with? Takis and Mountain Dew? A whole lot of Takis and Mountain Dew, probably? Yes, but you give them a list. You give them boundaries. You say, pick out one snack for yourself and then buy everything on this list. We're doing the same thing for ourselves. We may not be as explicit about it, but that's what we do for ourselves. I sell jewelry, Forgot Memory says, and we discovered tiaras. Now people come in and ask about them, but it's not the only thing we sell. And just because you start in one way doesn't mean you can't expand and grow, and your business can't move in different directions. But it's planned. It's under that umbrella of your why and your purpose. But a lot of people earlier mentioned Ray Train, so I want to hit on this because this is a big one for me. We are talking about what have you said yes to that doesn't fit in your why, but it drains you. The minute I ask that question, a lot of people put in Ray Trains. That is mine. The Ray Trains, I have decided this year because I looked back last year and what I felt was when I got chaotic, when I made mistakes, when I felt things were out of control, when I felt drained and overwhelmed, was when I committed to something that I wasn't 100% behind or didn't really fit into who I was, my purpose, and my why. And what was that? That was usually Ray Trains. Very rarely, there were times when I created something in my head, oh, I'm going to do this kind of show, and it didn't work out, that it was self-driven. But the majority of when I reviewed my past year, the times I felt those pressures, the times that I said yes to something that drained me, were when I said yes to raid trains that did not fit. Do not get me wrong. I am not against raid trains. I love raid trains. I think they're fun. I think they bring awareness. But I personally am pulling back. Now, I've been on a couple already, but I have now created boundaries for what raid trains I say yes to. And you know what? I run a couple of raid trains. And if I ask somebody and they tell me no, it's an okay. I respect your decision because my raid train may not fit your boundaries. And that's okay because your raid train may not fit my boundaries. I'm using raid trains to grow followers and hopefully repeat buyers. And if that is your objective on it, if that's part of your goals, then that's fine. Again, we're all going to look at this raid trains different and have different boundaries. Some people are like, no boundaries around raid trains. I love them. That is my business model. And that's okay if that's your business model. For me, Forgotten Memory says, we co-host one. I do the pre-show, but usually don't take a slot because that's not the fun part for me. There you go. So you have boundaries. Mine are, if they're less than an hour, Amy says, don't do a raid train. You have to source items you want 100%. I actually have that. That's part of my boundary. I won't accept raid trains that doesn't fit already into my niche that I'm already selling. If I can't sell my normal stuff, if I can't go into my supply room and pull stuff, I don't want to be on the train. They have to fit. I only allow myself to do so many per month. In December, I committed to so many. I was overwhelmed. And see, what do we say yes to that drains us? It's okay to say no. I've said previously, no is a complete sentence, and it does not require explanation. I won't do sudden death as a seller for buyers. It's too anxiety provoking. So you guys know what your boundaries are. Like, you know them. It becomes difficult to enforce them. And we're going to talk about why. For me on raid trains, they have to be at least an hour long. Amber, congratulations on that giveaway. Or they have to be educational driven. So I have to have a purpose in doing it. Like, it has to be an education talk show type, or they have to be an hour long. If I'm not selling for an hour, it's not to my benefit. It doesn't fit into my business model. Double Trey said dressing up. I agree. I have eliminated this year trains where I need to dress up. I've done it in the past. I've bought stuff to dress up just for a 10-minute slot. And then I never wear that item again or never use that item again. That's not a good business decision. That doesn't make sense. Why did I do that, right? And it's not me. You guys know me. I'm business focused. Hold on. What are we saying here? Crystal says, I pull back from raid trains and will be picky about what train you're signing up for because they're not all good. Double Tree, right. Putting on a bra and makeup for 5 minutes. Pass. That's right. All right. I make all my raid trains an hour and themes that are open and don't require certain sourcing. Exactly, Mama, because you'll get more like people wanting to do it that way. But the silliness isn't for me. I've tried it and it drained me, and then I felt bad afterwards. And you know what? I'm not going to do it anymore, and that's okay. Like, I'm business focused. I can be silly to a point, but the whole dressing up, I just can't compete. Some people are made for that. Some people are made for the entertainment. More power, let them do it because they are wonderful at it. It is not me, right? And no large required giveaways. I do PWE giveaways. Occasionally I'll do a $5, $10 gift card. Other than that, I'm not doing it. So that's my boundaries. Boundaries you set, they protect your energy, your profit, and your consistency. So putting boundaries in, avoiding those things that drain you, it only helps serve your own purpose, and it's okay. Go for it. Again, tying it back to our CEO, you only do buyer giveaways. There you go. CEOs don't do everything they want. CEOs don't do everything. They do what aligns. Why is this going to be hard though? We could talk all the talk. I could sit here and say no, respect your boundaries. Don't do anything that drains you, right? I could preach this all day long. But in real life, that's hard. Why? Because we have to ask difficult questions. We don't like difficult conversations. We don't like difficult questions as people. We'll sit here and say, oh, I can handle confrontation professionally. 9 out of 10 people cannot handle confrontation and do not like confrontation. And why is that important on Whatnot? Because we make friends and this is a social app. This is not just like eBay or something else where you send a blind message and you don't care who's on the other side. I took a big break because I was exhausted. It was hard to recover unless you said, Amy Parent, 100%. Yep. You don't go in brick and mortar and get a lot of free giveaways. Mamas, you're making a great point. Always calm down and respond professionally. Here's the deal. Why is this different? And why are the questions so much harder for us on Whatnot? Because this is a social app and we have friends on Whatnot. Okay. However, we have friends. I can look in the list of people who are here today and name a lot of you as friends, right? But are you friends that I'm going to be really blunt with? Are we close enough for me to say, those pants make your ass look fat? We're not there yet, are we? Probably not. Okay. Yes. I mean, you get really close with a few people, but there's a lot of you, I don't want to offend you. I'm not going to tell you those pants don't look good on your behind, right? We're still dating. Exactly. So when we start trying to set our boundaries, it becomes very difficult because we have to ask ourselves difficult questions and then communicate difficult responses to people. When your good friend asks you to be on their train that doesn't fit your boundaries, you can now have this mental or this emotional pull of, I don't want to let them down. I really like them. They're in the popular group and I will look good on their train. They have a lot of followers that can see me on their train, right? Okay, I've thought all these things, trust me. Like I've been through this past year. This has been a big focus of mine these last, month or so on what I do and don't do. Does this RAID train, some difficult questions we may be asking ourselves, does this RAID train support and align with my goals? That at top of the question. Is this the best and most efficient use of my time? Is that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour on that RAID train really the best and most efficient use of my time? Or would I be better off doing my own show? My problem is the hoard. I have so many items that are not selling, but I keep buying. Yeah, that is not having direction in sourcing. If they're not selling, then we need to reevaluate and address what are we buying. Oh, exactly. The loudest voice is not always the correct voice. And then the other thing, Burlap Barn, okay, if it's not selling, how do we stop and readdress how to sell it? Does it even fit with the source? Does it fit with what your buyers expect? We're about to talk about a couple more points about how our clarity helps our buyers. So don't source on Whatnot. Will doing this move me closer to my goal? We're doing this RAID train, doing this thing, doing whatever it is. Where does this fit into my bigger plan? And then you have to communicate that. But that's okay. You have to be strong and confident in yourself in order to be able to communicate that. Unfortunately, my closest circle of friends on here are the ones that like to dress up. Double check, I am with you. Look, I enjoy these trains that dress up and are silly and goofy. When I try to participate, and I have multiple times, yeah, it's fun for a second, but even so, you could go back and look at them on YouTube. I am still very serious about my role. I can't just let loose. It's not who I am. So why am I trying to take a square peg and fit it into a round hole? I'm beating a brick against my head for no reason. I'm better suited to understanding my why, understanding how that creates my boundaries, and just making my decisions within that, which means saying no to certain trains or certain trends or certain things that are happening. Let's see. If it's not authentic, it won't benefit you. Unfortunately, let's see. What am I missing? I'm new to what? Oh, thank you so much. Is that Clements? Thank you. All right. I was told to buy and sell what I love, but I noticed what I love isn't selling. I don't think you should buy and sell what you love. I think you should buy and sell whatever is in your niche, what you do. I think you start with some of that desire. The only requirement, in my opinion, is that you have to be able to get excited about what you're selling. Because if you can't show excitement and not even love, but if you can't show excitement about your items, it's going to come through and people don't want to buy them. If I'm like, all right, y'all, I got a mug. It says Starbucks. Starbucks is a good coffee company. Or I say, y'all, you have never seen this Starbucks mug. Check this guy out. Look at that print. Oh my God, this holds so much coffee. I can care less about mugs. But if I can get excited about it, you can sell it. All right. I want you to think about something, and let me hit on this point, kind of about what we're selling here. Think about a retail clothing boutique. One of those cute little shops you're walking by, the cobblestone street, and they've got those shops lined up, and you're on vacation, and you see this cute little retail clothing boutique, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go in there, right? And you go in, and they have these clothes, and it's laid out just perfect, and you're loving it, okay? What if then you walk over to the counter and they're selling gas station snacks? It kind of throws you off, right? A retail boutique, someone who knows their niche, is not going to just grab something else like gas station snacks because they sell. We on Whatnot tend to do that. And I have fallen prey to it too. You can change your name by going through Whatnot. You just go into your user profile and you'll be able to change your name.
You go to your profile and you edit the profile. In there, we'll have an option to change not the username, but the name that is displayed.
So a retail boutique, their brand determines what they sell. What determines our brand? Our why, right? Our why. We have boundaries, but we do this. I've seen this too. Oh, hens on nest are selling. Okay, so I'm going to go try to get all the hens on nest. Even if that's not my thing, even if that doesn't fit into my boundaries.
Correct, Fair Maiden. If you have any open orders or anything pending, it won't change until the transaction is completed.
Thank you all for helping out. Malvik, yes, there is a ton of brilliant people in this chat who can help you out. So kind of just follow along their comments and they will give you directions on how to make that happen. All right. So you need to make sure when you're sourcing that it fits in with your why, that it fits in so that you don't start getting drained by all this inventory that's sitting on the shelves that isn't selling. Does it fit with the brand you're creating? Your brand falls under your why. We always are going to go back to that big umbrella. We always have something guiding our decisions and our boundaries. My bias says whatever I can find under my couch. Good morning, GGs. All right, let's go on to our next point. Clarity prevents comparison burnout. Now, here's where we're going to talk. We mentioned comparison a little bit earlier. Here's where I want to talk about some comparison. I'm going to start another giveaway. But I have a little bit different take on comparison. All right. First of all, comparison is the strongest when your direction is the weakest. Okay. I want to replace the quote. Everybody hears comparison is a thief of joy. I've heard that. I don't necessarily disagree with that at all, but I want to look at this differently. Comparison is the strongest when your direction is the weakest. Okay. What do I mean with that? First off, the big point here is there is no shame in being Switzerland. Go be you. Go do you. Who cares what everybody else is doing, right? Be Switzerland. You want to know the best freaking example of Switzerland I've ever seen on this app is Green 13. He don't care who does giveaways. He don't care if somebody's doing a raid train. He's doing him and doing his business, and that's that. And he's being darn good successful at it, right? Be Switzerland, okay? When you don't know your why, you're going to start chasing these things. He is literally Switzerland, absolutely. And you know what? I want to be Switzerland, okay? I don't want to be smack dab in the middle of the United States and being surrounded by everybody else. I want to be Switzerland because when you don't know your why, these are the things you start chasing. I'm going to name these things, and then we're going to talk about what they have in common. Just think about it when I'm saying it. Maybe life's easier when you master your own game. I love that. Okay, listen. So you start chasing these things when you don't know your why. Other sellers' numbers, their sourcing style, their show length, their pricing strategy, their shipping methods. What do all those things have in common here? You start chasing, I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to expand on my thought here. Other sellers' numbers, their sourcing styles, their show lengths, their pricing strategy, and their shipping methods. There, and they're not yours. Yes. Does this also sound like all the questions that new sellers ask? Good morning. Good morning, Erin. These are the questions that new sellers ask, aren't they? How do I get followers? Other sellers' numbers. How do I get followers? Where do I source? Where do I buy pallets? Other sourcing styles. Do I need to do a 2-hour show? Can I do a 1-hour show? Should I do a 6-hour show? Other sellers' shows. Stop living someone else's dream. Yes. Mama says she thinks she's Switzerland. I would rather push another seller into the light. I just want to lift people up. That is amazing. Followers do not equal sales. Exactly. How about their pricing strategy? How many new sellers come in and saying, do I start at $1? What if I don't? I don't know what to start my items at. Do I start at what I want? Do I start here? And what is the biggest question everybody asks on Whatnot? Anything that has to do with shipping, okay? All of these things that we chase because we have not defined our purpose and our why, Givvies and shipping, is because we are trying to figure it out from somebody else. We are trying to chase other people's numbers, other people's styles, instead of defining our own. And you see it time and time and time again. New people come on consistently. I'm not ragging on you if you are new. Please ask questions and learn and grow. But you need to define your why. My numbers aren't your numbers. My shipping style isn't going to work for you. My sourcing is not your sourcing. All right. My show length isn't your show length. Okay. You love passionate, Tracy. Yeah, Dollar Starts is a good example because they see others doing it. Now, we're going to talk about how you can switch this and take that comparison and use it to your advantage. Because comparison isn't bad. It depends how you use it. Comparison is a tool. So, clarity turns comparison into data, not discouragement. Here's where the switch is. Here's mentally where we need to change our thinking. Clarity turns comparison into data, okay? Not discouragement. They're industry benchmarks. They're what is happening. Because you know what? McDonald's is out there watching KFC and Burger King and seeing what the benchmarks are, seeing what they're selling, what they're not selling, what their pricing strategy is. They're observing. Don't compare, observe what other people are doing, then define what you are doing. All right. You're going to analyze. Let's see who got this giveaway really quick. Southern Charm, congratulations. You got that giveaway.
Congratulations.
All right. I came in with creative sales tactics and bigger sellers started copying my structure, but they can't be me. Exactly. They can't be you. Everything I talk about, I'm not telling you how to do anything. Everything I talk about are just business concepts that you then take and mold to either fit or not fit with your business. Analyze, don't spiral. Let's look at some examples here.
And that's one of the reasons why when people are interested in the graphics, I shared how to do them. I don't have any problem showing how to do different things. I know that I come up with different things and they're going to come up with different things. So to me, it's just community.
Fair Maiden says, I'm all about crowdsourcing for data and then narrowing it down to what works for me. And that just sums up what we're talking about right here. That is it 100%. When your goals and numbers and your purpose are clear, comparison loses its emotional charge. How many of you have gone into a show and been like, you feel it, you feel discouraged, you feel sad, it sparks a desire, there's something, but it's a feeling. That's emotion. We talked way at the beginning, emotion isn't what's going to drive our business. Purpose is what drives our business. Emotion is motivational. All right. We want to remove emotion from our decision making when it comes to our business. So we want to lose that emotional charge that comes with comparison. New sellers see people making money and want to do what that person does to make the money, but sometimes it's not going to work. We are going to pick and choose. We're going to use comparison as a tool to collect data. That's all we're doing. It becomes a positive. Let's take that comparison as a thief of joy. Let's remove the negative connotation and say comparison is now a tool to help me collect data to be better in my business. Instead of asking the why them, why do they get followers? Why can they sell their product? I have the same thing. Why does theirs sell for more than mine? We've all done it. Instead of doing that, what are they doing differently? What data point can I learn from this person? Does this align where I am trying to go? Use it as data. Use it as information to grow your business. Have to look at different people and try different things and see what works for you. Experiment. Yes, Crystals, I agree. I talk about it all the time, taking small bits from everyone as data. It's data. This is all it is. Comparison then becomes market research. I'm testing the waters. I'm seeing what's out there. I'm just understanding my niche, my industry, my market. That's all I'm doing. I'm not comparing. I'm understanding my market. I feel a lot of it is personality. I'm a laid back, quiet person by nature, so it's hard for me to compare with the over-the-top personalities or to compete. Yes. But it's not competing. You're not competing. You're seeing, I can go into an over-the-top personalities too. That's not me. But I can go in there and say, what are they doing right? I've talked about this a long time. There are certain sellers on here that fascinate me. Fascinate me. And I go, and it's not a jealousy. It's not a comparison. It's what are they doing? How do they arrange their products? What words are they using? How are they utilizing social media? I'm collecting data. I'm watching. I'm doing market research on what's happening. Fireworks. They did. Fireworks got me all going. So clarity defines your lane, your pace, and your metrics. You need to be clear on where you're going. If you are clear on where you're going, that comparison just becomes a tool to drive you, not a thief that steals your joy. Okay? All right. Has comparison, just a question, yes or no in there? Actually, you don't even need to answer. This is rhetorical. My shows are calm. I'm not yelling, but I always have something running, working thus far. There you go. You don't have to yell or be over the top. You need to be you. So rhetorical question, you can't answer it. You don't have to. Has comparison ever made you question your path? If comparison has ever made you question your path, think about this. What would you change if you measured success differently? What would you change if you measured success differently? Okay? My success isn't based on anybody else. It's based on me, my goals, my clarity in reaching those goals, the boundaries I set. Okay? I was going to get that giveaway. I'm Monster Mama. Congratulations. We are way behind time, but I'm going to keep going. All right, we're going to run another giveaway. Thank you for being here, Monster Mama.
Congratulations.
All right. I'm only on point number 4, and I have 5 to go. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit here. All right. Intentional sellers attract aligned buyers. We've kind of talked about this before, but I want to talk about it in the way and how it fits in with your purpose. Your why, your purpose doesn't just guide you, it guides your buyers also. Yes, people watching shows that are now having lots of people makes me question whether I'm doing something wrong. You are not doing something wrong. You need to do you. You don't know what they could be doing, something totally else. Watch them. See what are they selling? What are they doing? What kind of talks do they have? How are they conducting their shows? What are their background is like? What's their lighting like? Look at all these as different data points. And then start using that and say, now go into somebody else. Look at the same things. What starts making connections for you? Like, oh, you know what? Everybody that I see that is a measure of success to me all has great lighting. I'm just pulling examples out of thin air.
Mama, then that becomes your signature.
Yes, it could become your signature. I don't mean to laugh at you crying, but that could become who you are. People and whatnot are known for different things, right? And we're kind of talking about that right now, that your why is also a signal to buyers. Buyers understand your why. Buyers can feel your intention in how you talk, how you price, how you curate, how you run your chat. CG, Thank you for the raid.
Welcome in, Raiders! Grab your hats and step into Zoe's Treasures, where the relics aren't cursed. They are for sale.
Welcome in, everybody from CG's group. Thank you so much for the raid. My name's Tracy. This is Zoe's Treasures. We are doing our business and talk show this morning. Right now, we are talking about intentional sellers attract aligned buyers. We're going to be getting into some tax topics pretty soon. So thank you so much. When somebody raids us, we do a quick look at their profile. So as soon as my husband lets me know he's ready, we'll take a look at that. But I want to make this point. Buyers, supporters, anybody in your room, they feel your intention. You need to understand your intention. You need to be clear. We've talked about clear on your why, which leads into your intention, because that comes through in how you talk, how you price, how you curate, and how you respond and run your chat. Yes, my love, go for it. All right. Thank you so much, CG, for bringing all your peoples over here. You guys, if you don't know, the queen of Raid Train, CG Boomerang Echo. And if you go scroll down a little bit, her next show, she does one every morning with her robe and her bathrobe, but her next show is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So go check her out. Thank you so much, CG. And you could also go to her website, boomerangecho.com. All kinds of Raid Train information on there. It is a must go to site. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. So sellers, think about we mentioned this earlier. Sellers who are all over the place versus sellers you know the direction. Just take a minute and think in your head. You don't need to name anybody. I don't want any bad call outs in my chat. But think about in your head. You know people who are chaotic and all over the place, and you wonder what their intention is, what their why is, versus the ones that you clearly understand their direction by how they communicate. And they don't need to sit here and tell you their direction. You know their direction by how they run their shows. All right. For those of you who just came in, really quick, I'm going to just, sorry if you've already heard this. We do these shows every Friday morning. It is a series of 52 shows, so series throughout the year. They are standalone. You can always follow them on YouTube if you miss it. We also have a book that goes with it that is in the chat. They have been marked down. It is a workbook. It follows along all of our talks, all of our points, and gives you some reflections and things to think about and work through on your own. All of that is in the bin, and there is a PDF version if you are interested. Good morning. Hello, Robin. All right. So a seller who is clear being. Think about this. Think about a seller. You could think of somebody who is vintage focused, education driven, slow pace, and curated. I am sure somebody has come to your head. The minute I describe somebody's intention, vintage, education, slow pace, curated, I am sure somebody came to your head because their intention shows through in everything they're doing. Their intention shows through in how they talk, how they curate, how they sell, all of that. Versus the ones we talked about it that are all over the place, okay? When you know your intention and your intention shows, Amber, thank you so much for being here. You got that giveaway.
Congratulations.
When you know your intention and your intention shows, you are naturally going to attract the buyers who appreciate that style. We always ask, how do we grow our following? How do we get more people in our room? You know, part of the problem is because you don't know your own freaking intention. You don't know what you're doing, but yet you want to attract people. Who in the heck are you trying to attract if you don't know who you want to attract, right? I had a young lady come into my show. She complimented my calmness and stayed the entire show. She had a bad day. There you go. And now previously mentioned, you probably have somebody who's going to come back again and again and again, right? I found somebody this morning. I just happened to go find her. It was the second time I just happened to see her name. I didn't know who she was. And I opened it up and I'm like, oh, wait, she looks familiar. I've been in her show before. And the same thing. She was so calm and so the peaceful feeling that I had listening to her. I'm like, follow, bookmark her next few shows. I like this girl, right? Yes, she has. She's a doll. There you go. All right. If you're sitting there asking yourself, why can't I get people to stay in my show? Why can't I get people to follow me? Have you defined your intentions? Do you have a why? Do you know what your purpose is? Have you defined everything going down? If you are all over the place, your buyers are going to be all over the place and you're not going to create a tribe. You need to know what you're doing, where you're going, because that shows through whether you think it shows through or not. It does. Southern Charm, yes. Rewatch your own shows. You're not going to know if you are all over the place if you are not watching your own shows. You have to. It is painful. Trust me. I cringe when I hear my own voice on watching shows. But you have to watch your shows in order to understand, am I coming across chaotic? Is my intention coming across the way I want it to come across? And if it's not, then change it. Right? You don't have to appeal to everybody, and it's okay. You're not going to, we've heard it, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. You're not. But do you know what kind of tea should be in your cup? Like, do you know who you're trying to have? You should. Okay? I want you to think about this. 2 bookstores. You got your cozy little coffee shop bookstore with the big oversized chairs, and they allow you to take the book and you get your coffee and you curl up for hours in the bookstore reading your book, drinking your coffee, versus Books A Million. Okay? 2 stores selling the exact same thing. 2 very different stores with very different purposes. Each store knows their purpose and has designed intentionally to their purpose. We need to do that for our own shows on Whatnot. Can you please flip through your book slightly so I can see the chapters? Absolutely. I would love to show off my book. Let's go this way. We'll show you really quick here. This is what it looks like. So here's January's. It starts everyone with a calendar, a place for you just to brainstorm. And then every week we have week 1, and it's going to have the main topics I'm talking about, the 5 key points under business and tax that I make with space for you to jot down any thoughts that you may have. And then we have a practice. It's an application reflection where I have specific thought-provoking questions that kind of expand on the point. And then you have another brainstorming page, and it goes over and over. This is for the first quarter. So there's 13 weeks. We have just marked it down because we are almost into February. We will be marking it down again as we get close to March and bundling it with the second quarter's books. This book just goes with the talks that we have. If some people just love to listen and they just process in their head. Other people like to take notes. This is just a guided way to take notes. Let's see. There's an audience for everything. You just have to decide what you want to attract. That's it. So if you think about, you're very welcome. There also is a PDF version if you don't want a book version. Pin the book? Absolutely, Crystal. I'll pin the book for a few minutes here. I should do that when I talk about it, shouldn't I? That would make a lot of sense. There it is. We'll get it pinned for just a few minutes. I don't like all the work. I don't like being covered up. Let's see. I'm missing, my husband saying I'm missing a comment. Purchase PDF, message, email, probably time to, does the book have all the separate PDFs in it or the taxes? No, all the PDFs are separate. They aren't included in the book.
If you decide to purchase the PDF, please send us your email address on a direct message. That way we can send you the attachment file.
All right, so going back to my bookstore example, real quick, hold on. We're going to see who won this giveaway. The woven basket. Congratulations. All right, we're just going to leave that pin for just another minute because the words on the screen bother me. Okay, so going back to my bookstore example, their purpose is highly visible. And because they know their purpose, they know their intent, they know who they're attracting, we as buyers know which bookstore we want to go to, right? We automatically know. So those bookstores are attracting the tribes they want to attract.
The PDF is exactly the same thing as a printed one, and the rest of the PDFs and the Excel spreadsheets are not included in the book. Those are completely different, separate. Those are electronic versions of guides that you can purchase.
All right. And I'm not saying that everybody has to do it in one way. Like, you don't have to all sell in the same way. Again, your intent, your purpose brings your people, your tribe. Hold on, I'm trying to get this off the screen. Give me a second here. PDF for tax, hobby versus business. Does it break down? And yes, it does. Very easy to understand language. All of the PDFs are written in very plain English. I'll put some IRS references, but I do try to explain them in very just common everyday language. When you have an alignment, when you have a purpose, you create repeat buyers, respectful bidding, and community energy. If you go into a show that's not your show, we all have these shows that aren't our shows. I don't like the yelling and the screaming shows. That's not their purpose. They have a defined purpose. They know they're doing their thing, right? That's not what attracts me. I like the calm, collected, chill shows. But the point here is what you're doing. Your intent is going to attract those people. You're building relationships, not just transactions. And your intent helps build those relationships. I've got to ask everybody a question here. Thank you for your purchase. Do you think your why is clear to your audience? Think about yourself. Is your why, is your ultimate intent, your goal, that big defining thing clear to your audience? So we have some yeses, and I hope to see yeses, but this is something you have to really figure out for yourselves. And like Southern Charm said earlier, you're not going to know unless you're rewatching your shows, you're talking to your audience, you're getting that feedback. You're not going to know. But it's so important to make your intent known to your audience. And that does not mean I'm going to sit here and say, okay, everybody, welcome to my show. Today, I want you to know my intent is this. That intent is going to come through naturally if you know what it is. Okay? The last point number 5, meaningful work lasts longer. Trends fade, motivation fluctuates. We already talked about that. And algorithms change. 3 things you can count on besides birth, death, and taxes. Trends are going to change. Motivation fluctuates, and algorithms change. We know all those things are going to happen. They're going to happen here on Whatnot consistently, right? Different in my daughter and my life. There you go. Meaning is what's going to make this sustainable to you, okay? This is deeper. When we start thinking about the meaning of what we're doing, and I know I may be getting a little philosophical and a little deep here, but this ties to your why. You have to have some substance behind it, okay? Consistency and balance and preparation. There you go. You have to have some substance to what you're doing. We're not just on here hawking the next Goodwill find, right? That if you want to create a long-term sustainable business, something that lasts longer, it has to have some substance to it. Teaching, storytelling, preserving, creating community. These are all different examples of substance. And these aren't tied to your items. You can create teaching, storytelling, creating community. You can create preserving history. You can create all of that regardless of what you're selling. Okay, hold on really quick. Southern Charm says, it's always great to have that one person in your life that will tell you the heart. Absolutely. You need that person. Did I miss the question in the chat? Okay, then if it's in the DM, I'll have to answer it. My husband's telling me I'm getting some DM'd questions. I will get to them as soon as the show's over. I'll make sure I answer you, unless he can do it in the meantime. All right. Relationship and community on here is just as important as what you sell. It's the substance, okay? It's behind you. Honestly, like I said before, if you can get excited about a product, you can sell it. You have to be willing to listen. Yes, you do.
Thank you, Pete Love.
You've got to think about this. If you are in the mindset, and I might not be. Oh, who got that giveaway? I totally missed it. Let me see here. Wishlist Rose, congratulations. Thank you for being here. Let's do another giveaway.
Congratulations.
All right, or did I miss it? It was Christy. Thank you for being here. Congratulations. Whoever just got that last giveaway, it flashed and I was not paying attention. Okay. I may not be talking to everybody here, but there's some of you. Some of you may just be here for a short time. Maybe you're just cleaning out a closet and that's it. But there are some of you out there who want to create a long-term sustainable business. You want something to last, right? You want something for in the future, not just today. Thank you, Christy. Thank you for being here and congratulations. I will figure out what I'm doing one of these days. So you're building something that outlives this one singular platform. You don't know where Whatnot's going to go. I hope Whatnot's going to be here in 20 years and I could still be doing this when I'm not going to tell you how old I'll be then, very old. But you don't know. You are building something bigger than just this platform, right? You've got to think beyond just today's show. You got to think in the future. What are your plans 3 to 5 years now? You don't need to tell me, but rhetorically speaking, do you have a 3 to 5 year goal or plans? Where do you even have an idea? Where do you want this to be in 3 to 5 years? And it's okay if you were like, I like what I'm doing here. I want to be the same size. Or do you want to take over the world? You need to know where you want to be in 3 to 5 years. Is this long lasting? I'm still working on my starting plans because I'm not good at just throw it together and give it a go. This has been, oh, thank you so much. And I said, oh, thank you very much, Pit Love. So you've got to think about where you want this to be in the future. Sellers who tie the work to meaning, and if you don't have a meaning, a 3 to 5 year plan is just kind of like, it's just a job, right? 3 to 5 years without meaning is just clocking in for somebody else. Okay, I don't want that. I want what I'm doing to have some substance, some meat, some meaning behind it. So if you have that substance, that purpose, all of this, remember, we're talking about purpose. All of this ties back to your purpose and your why. You don't burn out as fast. You adapt when the worlds and the trends shift. If you have some substance to yourself, you evolve your business instead of abandoning them. If Whatnot were to go away tomorrow, could you take the meat of what you're doing and pivot to something else? Or is this just, it's just Whatnot? What are you building here, right? Meaningful work lasts longer. Meaningful work ties to that big umbrella of your why and your purpose. I only have 6 years before I retire, and I'd like to use Whatnot as my new job. Me too. But I want it to be fun and lasting. I don't want this to be just my job. Exactly. We want it to be meaningful. If it's not meaningful, it's not fun. So you've got to think about, what do you want it to look like in 3 to 5 years? Sometimes I overwhelm myself trying to manifest this dream all by myself. Everyone does it, not Teresa. It's more than just a job. And you know what? It's not going to happen overnight. That's why it's called a 3 to 5 year plan, right? I have a vision for where I want to be in 3 to 5 years. And this show today is part of my bigger vision, right? Next year, these shows are going to be bigger, better, look different. And the year after that, they're going to be bigger and better and look different, right? It's a growth. But if you can't visualize it and know where you're going, you'll never get there. And if there's no meaning behind it, if there's no depth, and that depth could be a million different things. For me, it's business, education, and taxes. For other people, it could be preserving history. It could be making sure somebody's remembered. I mean, there's so many different depths, reasons, storytelling. It could be just making sure things don't end up in a landfill. There's many different reasons, but there has to be something that ties into that bigger picture of your why. Inventory checker. Thank you so much for your purchase. I appreciate it.
Wish list Rose, can you check your DM, please?
Your why isn't about sounding inspirational. We talk about our why and our purpose, and it's not about this, I'm going to do this to save the world. No, your why is a personal thing. It's about your why is about making decisions easier. It's about defining your business. When things get noisy, when there's stuff all around you, your purpose, your why brings you that clarity and keeps you steady on your path for the long haul. So that kind of sums up my business side. We've had some great conversation. Man, I've been talking, it's been a long time. Okay, we're going to move over into the tax topics now. We can still talk about any of these things I talked about, but we're going to move over into talking tax. So every Friday we do usually an hour of business. I went a little long today, and then we do tax. So our tax topic today, real quick, I want to read, Fair Maiden says, preserving history, so true. Some things are hard for me to sell because people like to deconstruct them like antique books. Exactly. LVB Thrift, congratulations. You got that giveaway. Thank you for being here today. Yeah, I'm finding that difficult right now with jewelry. I don't want people to melt the jewelry because of the prices of gold and silver. I want them to enjoy it for its beauty. But once you sell it, you sell it. My goal is to sell something. And once it gets sold, I can't control what happens, right? Okay, tax. Let's talk about choosing your right business structure for sellers. This is a big thing. Now, if any of you have been around me for a while, you know I have a whole soapbox about LLCs. I I get to actually expand on this today. I'm not going to be on a soapbox. We're actually going to talk cold hard IRS facts here, just kind of business. We're going to talk about choosing your right business structure. There are 4 main structures that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what they are, kind of the nuances of each one. I cannot tell you which one to be, but hopefully by the time this hour is over, you will have a better understanding of what each one of these are. So, sole proprietor is the most common one. We're going to talk about sole proprietors, LLCs, corporations, and S corps. There are others out there. These 4 are like the main, most common ones you're going to see. That's why we're sticking to 4. Okay. So 4 main structures that we're going to focus on. I'm going to start with a brief overview of them, and then we'll dive into more specifics. So your sole proprietor, the minute you pick my favorite topics, yes, LLCs. I've been waiting for this week to talk about these. The minute you pick up something, will the bin items be available after this? I want to purchase, but I don't want to miss anything. Yes, absolutely. They are in the marketplace. However, during the show, it's free shipping. So during the show, I mean, PDFs, we just email to you anyways, but I have to send you something through Whatnot. And if you purchase them in the marketplace, there is some shipping charge added on because I can't control it at that point. But if it's purchased while the show is on, it's free shipping. Okay, so the minute, thank you, lots of things. The minute you pick something up and you sell it on Whatnot, eBay, Poshmark, whatever platform you are on, you are a sole proprietor. If you have not incorporated, you are a sole proprietor immediately. This isn't a choice you make. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to be a sole proprietor today. No, it's like it just happens. That's how the IRS classifies you. If you have not incorporated in any other way, you are a sole proprietor. It is just an automatic formation. Sole proprietors, when it comes to taxes, file a Schedule C. That's the IRS form number is called a Schedule C. That's attached to your tax return, to your 1040. Everybody should be familiar with a 1040. That's your basic tax form. A Schedule C is what says, hey, I'm a sole proprietor. I'm doing this business over here. It's part of my personal tax returns. Okay? Okay, perfect. Malvik says I got the wire bound. You will also get a PDF with it. It's actually a bound. You'll also get the PDF with it. We just do both.
Thank you, guys. I'm trying to send you the electronic versions as soon as I see the purchases. So I'm trying to be a little proactive.
He's trying to get it behind the scenes. A sole proprietor is not a separate business entity. This is a key point for a sole proprietor. It is not a separate business entity, a legal entity. As a sole proprietor, your business and your personal is one and the same. Okay. Now we're going to talk about you got to separate funds, bank accounts, all that. But in the eyes of the law and the eyes of the IRS, a sole proprietor and you as a person are one and the same. Okay. It is not a separate legal entity. Okay. That's a really key point because that's really what separates sole proprietor from all the rest of it. You are, as a sole proprietor, yes, you must do a Schedule C, 100%. You are also, as a sole proprietor, personally responsible for any debts and liabilities of your business. Okay. Now, you can go and get a doing business as and get a business name and still be a sole proprietor. That doesn't mean you've incorporated. Okay. As a sole proprietor, and this is super important, I'm a sole proprietor. I am responsible for the debts and liabilities of my business. It isn't like, oh, Zoe's Treasure took out that loan from the bank, so Tracy doesn't have to pay Zoe's Treasures. No, we're the same person, okay, as a sole proprietor. Now, an LLC, and again, we're going to dig deeper into each one of these. I'm kind of giving you high level here. As an LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, okay? There's LLPs, which is limited liability partnerships. There's other forms of this. LLC is the most common. That's what we're focusing on. There's two kind of nuances here for an LLC. Jen Mark, congratulations. You got that giveaway. So the two nuances for an LLC is you can be a single member LLC. If it is just you alone, you're a single person, you file your tax return, just you are considered a single member LLC. If it's you and your spouse, you file a joint tax return, that is still a single member LLC. Why is this important? Because as a single member LLC, and I'm adding single member for clarification, it's still just called an LLC. You still file a Schedule C. There's not a lot of difference. You have some other protections, but tax-wise, you're still filing the same tax return that you did as a sole proprietor, okay? Now, when you start to get partners outside of somebody you file a tax return with, so this means if you now partner with your cousin Sally, not your husband or your wife, you're now partnering with your cousin Sally and you have created an LLC, that becomes a completely different tax form that you file. Now you're filing a 1065, a whole nother tax form. So there is a difference in the LLCs on if you're an LLC partnered with somebody else or an LLC is just you when you're talking about how you're filing taxes. Most people, the majority of LLCs within the reselling world fall under single member LLC, because a lot of times we're creating it as just me and my husband are Zoe's Treasures. If I were to create an LLC, I would still be using a Schedule C tax form, okay? We're going to talk about this just a little bit more. To form an LLC, again, you can have your single member, you can have multi-member, people aren't related to you. An LLC is a separate entity. Remember I said sole proprietor is not. You are one and the same. An LLC legally, under the eyes of the law, is a separate entity, okay? Its own responsibilities, its own liabilities, its own debts. It is separate from you. We talked about filing Form 1065. LLCs must register with the state. It's usually, that's how you form an LLC, is going through the state. You don't form an LLC through the IRS. The IRS can care less. The IRS is not like the one you form corporations with. It's your state that you form a corporation with. A big key point about an LLC is because now you're moving into it as a separate entity, it is its own legal entity, it is harder to dissolve. You must now not only form it with the state, if you decide to walk away from it, you have to dissolve it with the state too, filing more paperwork to say, hey, we're no longer in business. Whereas a sole proprietor, me, Zoe's Treasures, a sole proprietor, if I decide to throw in the towel tomorrow, I'm done. I walk away, mic drop, nothing. I don't have to do anything else. If I'm an LLC, it's, oh, I got to file with the state. I got to do this, this, and this before the mic drop, right? Okay. That's an LLC. Then you have corporations. And now, let me kind of preference. There isn't one that's better than the other. This is all dependent on your set of unique set facts and circumstances. We'll talk about this. Then you have corporations. So corporations are another legal separate entity. Is that true for sole proprietor, even if you have a DBA? Correct. You may have to just dissolve your DBA with the state, but that's super easy to do. Thank you, Wishlist. We're going to keep talking through this. I've got 5 more points to make on structure. So if you have questions about structure, please feel free to put it in there, or maybe I might answer it throughout just what I have planned to say. So a corporation now. We know corporations. Corporations could either be public or private. Anything you see on the stock exchange usually are corporations of some sort. They're C Corps. In order to go public, when you hear about people making an IPO, initial public offering, public companies, Nike, Target, you know, all of these big stores, big retail stores, a lot of other companies, a lot of your insurance companies, they're corporations, right? Separate legal entities, separate from the people that are running it. Corporations now, they're taxed a little bit differently. At the corporation level, they are taxed as a corporate. They filed their Form 1120, which is another tax form, as the corporation and pay taxes at the corporation. Corporations pay dividends to the people who form them. So if Zoe's Treasures, if me and my husband decided to form a corporation, we could easily do that. It's totally open to you and your husband, your spouse, if you want to form a corporation. However, that means as Zoe's Treasures, I can't just pull money out when I want. There's a lot more restrictions on what I can and can't do if I'm a corporation. As a corporation, I have to issue dividends to myself. I'm now a shareholder, okay? YTTC, you got that giveaway.
Congratulations.
Let me run another one. So a corporation comes with its own set of restrictions. It also allows larger growth. There's pros and cons to all of these different structures. And it goes back to what are your plans? What are your 3 to 5 year plans? Where you want to be? At the very end of today, I have a list of kind of considerations to help you think through some of this before you go talk to your tax person about where you should be. So that's a corporation. We're very familiar with corporations. A lot of the businesses we do business with are corporations, okay? Anything you see on the stock exchanges, all of them are corporations. Now, finally, we're going to get to S Corp. That's the fourth one. S Corp is not an S Corp, and this was where it gets a little confusing. An S Corp is exactly the same thing as a corporation. The S in front of it, S Corp, the S is an IRS election. It's a tax election. It just means that the tax laws are a tad bit different for your S Corp. There's some different rules that apply to an S Corp. Previously mentioned, have a good day too. That applies to the S Corp just means that there are different IRS rules that apply to that corporation. That's all it means, okay? You will frequently hear people say, oh, I'm an S Corp. My CPA told me to be an S Corp. That is just a corporation or an LLC that has made a tax election to be treated as an S Corp. That's all it means. S Corp is a IRS tax election. What it does is changes that corporation. Remember on the corporation, I just said you're paid dividends and then you have to pay tax on your dividends. And S Corp allows that income to be passed through. The S Corp, you don't pay taxes at the corporate level, you pay it at the personal level. So it's just a different way to pass that money through on who is ultimately paying the tax. Yep, Daisy Lane, Schedule C. C Corp can file for an S Corp to flow to personal and still keep that protective umbrella. Absolutely, and that's what the S Corp is. All the S Corp does is remove the corporate tax from the C Corp, and it's reported as a K-1 to your personal return. So you're paying it at a personal level, not at a business level. And they're different tax brackets. All right. Now, that sounds really good. That sounds like, oh, great. Now I want to be an S Corp because I don't want to pay corporate tax and personal tax. I want to move it over here and do it personally. That sounds wonderful. But there are limitations, and there's a lot of regulation around an S Corp. So it's not like you just jump into this. You're not going to listen to me today and know exactly which one you need to be. You can listen today and say, oh, I understand them better. Now I can go talk to my CPA and my legal advisor and figure out what works best for me. And we'll kind of get to some of those questions in a minute. The structure that you have, just curious how my LLC and nonprofit can work together. I should know, but I'd like points to focus on. How your LLC and nonprofit can work together. Nonprofits are so regulated. I was actually a CEO for a nonprofit for 15 years. CEOs are so regulated. The only thing I can think of is your LLC being the backbone. Like if you had an events run LLC that the nonprofit would hire to run the events, to raise income. There's ways. It just depends how they're structured, what they are, what the purpose of each one is. All right. Structure affects, whatever structure you pick affects your liability, your taxes, and your growth. So it's more than just a tax form. We like to look at, LLC for taxes, LLC for this, or S Corp for this, but it's not just tax. It's what you can and cannot do. Are you personally responsible? Is the company responsible? How much control do you want in the business? If you're a corporation, it's not under your control. You have shareholders. All those shareholders have a vote in what happens in that corporation. If you're an LLC, you usually, if you're a single member, it's just you. But if it's you and an outside person, if you're a multi-member LLC, all those people have a vote in what happens in that business, right? Or they have different investor statuses in that business. So each structure comes with its own set of responsibilities. I'm going to talk about just a few of them. It is. So sole proprietor, we talked about your liability, unlimited liability. Okay, cool. LVB, I'm happy to talk to you too if you want to DM me. We can always set something up. Okay, liability. As a sole proprietor, unlimited personal liability, you're one and the same. All the debts of the business are your debts. LLC, owners are not personally liable. The LLC is liable. So now you've created a business entity, right? Corporation, owners are not personal liable. It's the entity that's liable. Okay, same for the S Corp. Taxes. So for your taxes as a sole proprietor, that's you, one and the same. You're responsible for all your taxes. Sunshine Vintage, you got that giveaway. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And you are also responsible for the self-employment tax. So those of you who may be new to this, not only are you paying federal tax, but you're paying 15.7, don't forget the exact thing, about 15% self-employment tax also on top of your federal tax. So as a sole proprietor, I'm responsible for all of my federal tax and my self-employment tax. As an LLC, I still am responsible for my self-employment tax. Okay, it's still going to flow down to me as a single member LLC. As a corporation, we start getting into payroll taxes now. Corporations issue payroll. LLCs can issue payroll too, but as a corporation, we're issuing payroll. It's a different structure. Okay, we're not paying that self-employment tax. We are paying payroll taxes, which is half of the self-employment tax, and whoever the employee is pays the other half. Same thing with an S corp. When we talk about growth, as a sole proprietor, you can grow really big and be a sole proprietor. However, you can't get investors. I mean, unless your mom wants to give you, a few $1,000s to help your business, you can't get investors as a sole proprietor. Sometimes it makes it difficult for other types of growth. Maybe you can't buy from certain places as a sole proprietor. So your growth could be in some ways limiting as a sole proprietor. Does not mean you can't make millions and millions of dollars. You can still make a lot of money as a sole proprietor, but you can't have investors. You can't, be on the stock market. You can't do all of those things. You can't be a big public company. It is harder to sell a sole proprietor. If you want to grow this to a point where then you can sell it to somebody else and let them buy your business and then you go retire, you can't really sell a sole proprietorship. All right. An LLC makes it a little bit easier. That's a separate legal entity. Now that can be sold. You can have investors, they're actually called members in an LLC. So you can have different types of members. You can have members that are active in the business, like doing the selling, working in the business, or you can have just members that are investing in the business. Okay. Corporation, most potential for growth in your corporation. With the corporation, you can take that all the way to going public and being a public company. So you have the biggest potential for growth with a corporation. That does not mean that a corporation is the way to go. It's just different responsibilities. Now, for all of these, except sole proprietor, the minute you create a separate legal entity, you also have to now think about your the veil that goes over your business. And for the life of me, the term is escaping me and I didn't write it down. But basically, the minute you set up an LLC, corporation, or an S corp, corporate veil. Thank you, Doubletree. Yeah, I think you reminded me last time. I always forget about that. You create this corporate veil. So you kind of create this umbrella that goes over your business that protects that legal entity. That means, though, that you have responsibilities of keeping minutes, of making your annual reportings to your state. So you have other legal responsibilities that if you screw those up, you can pierce that corporate veil, and any good attorney then will come in and attack that business. What do I mean by this? When you create a legal entity, an LLC or a corporation, S corp, when you're creating one of those, you're separating your liability from you personally, making the liability over here to the business, right? You have some type of accident, there's a slip and fall, somebody sues you, whatever it may be, okay? I'm just kind of pulling at thin air here for examples. You have some type of something that you're going to get into a lawsuit with. If you have not operated that business as a business, if you have not stuck with the corporate requirements, it is very easy for an experienced attorney to come in and say, they didn't even operate this as a business. Look they did this. They never kept minutes. They mixed their personal and their business finances. This allows us and opens a door for us to attack their personal assets. Okay. So understand that once you create a legal entity, you create a lot of legal requirement for yourself at the same time. That's not always a bad thing, because that protects you, that protects that legal entity. Whereas as a sole proprietor, remember I said, we're one and the same. All of the debt, all of the liability is on me, okay? So it's not a bad thing, but you're responsible for it now. It's just another thing that you're responsible for. So there is no best structure. I am not going to sit here and tell you there is a best structure. There is the structure that is best for you. I can't tell you what that is. You need to talk to an experienced CPA, financial advisor, a legal advisor. You're going to talk about what your current status is, what your current liability is, what is future liability, what does your growth plans look like, What type of assets do you own? What do you sell? Where do you sell? Do you own real estate? Do you not own real estate? Wish list, Rose, you got that giveaway. Congratulations. How much control do you want in your business? Do you have business partners? Do you not have business partners? You're going to look at all these facts and circumstances with your CPA, financial advisor, legal advisor, and determine which structure works best for you. My goal today for you is just to understand, just to get a basic knowledge like, hey, I feel a little more educated to go have this discussion. You know, I've heard all these terms and now I know a little bit more about what they mean. The third point I have under tax is simple is often the best early on. And what's the simplest one we've talked about? Sole proprietorship. Complexity in your structure does not equal professionalism. Those two things don't go together. By saying I'm an LLC, that doesn't give me any more legitimacy, professionalism, anything else. And I am sure you guys can see this. You will see some people on Whatnot or other platforms with LLC behind their name, and they're a hot mess. So just because you have that LLC in your name doesn't mean you're more professional, you're better. It doesn't mean anything in the sense of who you are. It's legalities and tax responsibilities. You are better off when you were starting out to focus on keeping clean records, making sure you're tracking your revenue, your expenses, and your inventory. Consistency in tracking your revenue and understanding your cash flow. That should be your first focus before you're even worried about LLC, corporation, S Corp. It should be, I'm going to start as a sole proprietor and I'm going to focus on making sure my accounting, my financial records are in shape. Because I'll tell you what, the minute you go to talk to a CPA, financial advisor, attorney, and you say, hey, I've heard a bunch of people talking about this LLC thing. I would like to get some advice. They're going to say, great, can I see a set of financial statements? Where are you financially? Where are you going? If you don't have your ducks in order, you can't even begin that conversation, right? You need to make sure you're focusing on the right things first. Over-structuring way too early in this game, you can increase cost. You're adding additional administrative stress, and you can create confusion. I know it is so easy, and this is one of my biggest frustrations. You hear people throwing around, here's my soapbox, you hear people throwing around, create an LLC. For tax purposes, you need an LLC. You're a reseller, go do an LLC. You hear this thrown around. You go to any of the accounting software, and there are little ads, little commercial ads saying, click here to start your LLC. We can make it easy. Don't just jump into this. You're over-structuring too fast, too soon. You're increasing cost. You have state requirements that you have to pay every year. You have other tax filing responsibilities. If you don't file your own taxes, now you're paying a CPA to do a LLC or a corporation tax form and your personal tax form. So you're creating more that's not necessary, right? We're jumbling up all that mental clutter that we don't need to jumble up too soon in the game, okay? Some of the stuff here, I wrote down some of the stuff. Your annual state registration, the minute you incorporate, the minute you create an LLC or a corporation, you have your state registrations. Every state, every single year, you have to redo that. Additional tax forms, you have to keep minutes, and they're harder to dissolve if you decide you want to walk away from this. Now, those are the bad points. I've kind of went over some of the good points about the separate liability. So again, I'm going back to, there are pros and cons to every single structure. And you have to look at what fits your unique set of facts and circumstances. I do want you to keep in mind, though, when I talk about simple is often best early on, when you start any business, Whatnot, any other business, forming your foundation is the topmost priority. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here, the Glass Elephant. The most important thing for you to do is to form your foundation. That doesn't mean, okay, I'm a business, let's go get an LLC, let's incorporate. No, it's form that foundation. What is my purpose? Let's go back to the very beginning of today. What's my purpose? What's my goals? Where am I going? What's my niche? What are my boundaries? What am I doing? Now let me start building my foundation, okay? Once you get to that point, how am I tracking inventory? How am I tracking my accounting records? You get that foundation, you get that ground beneath your feet so you're not shaky anymore. Then you start looking at bigger things, right? Then we start looking at, okay, where am I going in 3 to 5 years? What business structure do I need to be down the road? What should I be doing now to prepare for that? So a couple examples of this. If you're running occasional shows, I just want to put this in Whatnot language. If you're running an occasional show, you may gain more by improving your bookkeeping rather than forming an entity. You have better things to focus your time on. Bye, Moz Couch. You got that giveaway. Congratulations. Knowing your profit matters more than putting an LLC behind your name. Okay. Thank you for your purchases from the bin. If you guys are purchasing anything from the bin, make sure you DM us your email address so we can get it to you right away. All right. Just keep in mind, we're almost through. I got about 2 more points here, but keep in mind, growth earns complexity. It shouldn't come before it. Complexity shouldn't come before growth. It should be simplicity, growth, then it becomes more complex. That is a normal flow of any business. Simplicity, growth, then that drives a little more complexity in everything, in marketing and business structure and everything you're doing. Start simple and grow. Get your foundation underneath you first. So the next point I want to talk about here under the tax is structure should match where you're going, not where you start. This is where you need to have some vision. Where are you wanting to go with this? Get your foundation. Do what I just said. Get that foundation, right? Then where are you going? What's the next step? Where do I want to be in 3 to 5 years, right? So now you're going to start thinking, what's coming up in the end? What, with this end in mind? Do I ultimately want to grow something that I can sell to somebody else, get my few $1,000,000 and go live my life in Aruba? Is that my goal? What do I want to happen? Good morning, Zempress. What do I want to happen in the end? That's going to dictate where you go with structure. Now, you don't have to have that structure right away. The structure part of your business, your LLC, your corp, your S corp, I want to live in Aruba too. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Your structure is a planning decision. And planning in this sense could be a multi-year plan. It could be, okay, I'm going to create my foundation and I'm going to start planning where I want to go. Crystal says, if you aren't keeping up with your bookkeeping already, you aren't ready for a corporation. 100%. It is important. Yes, absolutely. Are you able to clarify on bank accounts for your business or businesses and where the money should go and not an LLC? You should have a separate business account. The minute you decide that you're a business, and I've talked about this, it's not even you deciding, it's really the IRS lays out rules on whether you're a business or a hobby, but you should have a separate business account. You should not be mixing your business and your personal funds. First of all, when you're looking at a corporate veil, if you created an LLC and all of that, that's going to like pierce that corporate veil. Your business and your personal funds should always be separate, even as a sole proprietor. Twice around the block, expand on your question. What are you asking is deductible? Opened it yesterday. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you opened a business bank account. You should have a separate business bank account. Now, if you're a sole proprietor and you do not have an EIN number, employer identification number, it is okay. If you go to open a business account, you probably need a DBA and an EIN. However, the way around that, open up a separate account in your own personal name. You're one and the same anyways if you're a sole proprietor. I don't have a Zoe's Treasures bank account. I have a Tracy checking account at one bank and a Tracy checking account at another bank. One's my business, one's my personal. Okay, so you don't even need to add more complexity just to get a separate bank account, but you should be keeping your business and your personal funds separate. It doesn't have to be an actual business account. Yes. Okay. Is my healthcare deductible anywhere? Yes, your healthcare is deductible in multiple places. You can deduct that on your personal return, and then there is deductions on both LLC and S corp. So healthcare is deductible in multiple places on your tax returns. Does Q1 include all of your information? So the Q1, the book that we have in book or PDF that we have in the bin, it includes the key points that I make. I do 5 points business and 5 talking points for tax, and then room for you to write it. I am working on a full-fledged book from all my information, but that won't be out for quite a while. We have Q1 right now. Q2 is coming out in about 2 to 3 weeks. So, and you pay yourself by just transferring money out to my personal account. Exactly. When you are a sole proprietor and you need money, like you're like, hey, my business is doing good. I have some excess funds in there. I need to take out X number of dollars. You just pull that out. It's your money.
Remember, you're one and the same as a sole proprietor. The IRS does not care how much money you take out of that business. You can drain that account every single month. The IRS doesn't care. What they care about is your net profit at the end of the year that you're going to be taxed on. That's what they care about. And the money you pull out of a bank, the money you put in the bank, is not the same as your net profit. Cash flow and profit are two different concepts. And your spouse just pulls it out. Yep. All right. So we talked about that. We talked about structures to match where you're going. Structures can change as you move forward, so keep that in mind. Forgotten Memories, congratulations on that giveaway. Thank you for being here. I'm a sole proprietor today.
Congratulations.
I may want to create an LLC in the future. Right now, I don't need to, and I don't have any reasons to do that immediately. But structures can change. What you want to do is have a plan on where you're going. Like I said, if you want to sell the business, if I want to hire employees, I may want to incorporate a little bit more. If I want to move to a warehouse and start owning other assets, I may want to get an LLC at that point to create a little bit, separate that liability from my personal liability. So it really depends where you're going. But you start thinking about these things when you start matching up what is my 3 to 5 year plan. And you start laying the foundation and the groundwork to get to where you want to go. Your business structure is no different when you start thinking about it than what do I want to sell in the future when you're making plans for the future. Okay, this is one of those things you should be thinking about. And that doesn't mean that you can't just be a sole proprietor for the rest of your life. Dating show. So as you grow or you move forward intentionally in your business, your structure should align with that growth, right? And it may just be you're a sole proprietor, but it could be I need to be something else. So think about it. And this is, you don't have to answer this, but does your current setup support your future goals? So does your current structure, your current setup support where you want to go, or are you laying a foundation to get to where you want to go with structure? Right? The last point I want to make on tax, because we're about right on time. We're going to do these last couple of giveaways here. I don't know if we're going to get all the giveaways. We're trying. All right. This is a planning conversation. Structure is a planning conversation, not a panic decision. Have you ever felt rushed into a business decision? Anybody here ever felt like, oh my God, I got to make a decision right away? Yes. And it sucks. I hate that feeling. I hate the stress. I hate my chest getting all tight. Well, this is what happens a lot with LLCs. And I kind of touched on it a minute ago, but you go to QuickBooks online and you get QuickBooks and you keep seeing this, create an LLC. Or you've done it to yourself? Yes, I've done it to myself. Is it okay to transfer money to my joint account to pay myself? Absolutely, Monster Mama. Anytime you want. If you are a sole proprietor, you can pull out money whenever. Nobody cares. That's all on you. The IRS is never going to ask for how much you pulled out. Now, the minute you incorporate, that becomes a transaction in the business that then is tracked and reported. So let's talk about this. When you start pulling money out of your business, if you are a sole proprietor, nobody gives a dang how much money you pull out. That is on you, your financial management, all on you. You can pull out all the money, you can pull out none of the money. The IRS at the end of the year is not going to say, did you pull out any money? They want to know what your net profit is, okay? They want to know what you're going to be taxed on. Now, once you become an LLC, now there's money coming out of it. That's a business transaction. It's still a business transaction when you're a sole proprietor, but as an LLC, you actually have to report. If you are doing a Form 1065, a multi-member LLC, if you have more members, not just a single member, not just you or you and a spouse, you actually have to report what's been pulled out. And that gets reported on a K-1. So that actually becomes something that, yes, the IRS is interested in some way, shape, or form. Same thing with a corporation. With a corporation, you can't just pull money out. That's illegal. You can't just pull money out at all. It has to be a declared dividend to be paid out to you. Whole nother, again, more complexity. The bigger you go, the more complex it gets. And same thing with an S-Corp. You can pull money out, but it's reported on a K-1. And there's rules around having to do payroll. You can't just pull money out. You start getting into having to do payroll. Will you talk about what percent is good to keep your business versus in your business versus in your paycheck? Hold on. Will you talk about what percent is good to keep for the business versus your paycheck? I think that's a really hard number for me to be able to come up with. As a sole proprietor, you should be planning on 18 to 35%, put away 18 to 30% for taxes. You should always have that set aside for taxes. And either paying your estimated taxes, depending on the situation, or being prepared to pay a tax bill at the end of the year. As keeping in your bank account, that depends what your business expenses are. You should always have a few months of business expenses. It is no different. Running your business is almost no different than your personal life. In your personal life, you should be able to support yourself. If you were to lose your job, had no income, you should have 3 to 6 months of money saved up in your account in order to keep your personal stuff going, right? No different for your business. What if Whatnot just tanks one day and it takes you a while to set up on another platform? You should have enough money to keep you going. So that question really depends on what are your monthly expenses. Holmes Haven, congratulations. You got that giveaway.
Hotel Lobby Posh Boutique. The Q1 is workbook is completely separate from the PDF and the Excel files. The PDF files are guides, and the Excel files contain formulas for you to, very basic, for you to calculate certain things. So they're completely separate.
All right, so the lost ledger, when you say pulled out, do you mean as profit or money you take to pay expenses or buy inventory? So when I say pull money out of your business, I'm talking about business like paying myself. I want to pull out money to pay myself. I have extra money in my bank account. Personally, I want $500. I'm going to take $500 from my business account. The IRS doesn't care about that. Now, when you're paying expenses, that is something that's reported on your tax form, on your Schedule C. That does become important. You do need to be tracking expenses and your inventory. So when you're using money for business purposes, it all needs to be tracked. You got to track it for your bank account to reconcile your bank account when you're just taking money for your personal. But the IRS doesn't care if every month you take $500 in cash from your business account and use it personally when you're a sole proprietor. That's not a number that they're judging anything on, because they're going to judge at the end of the day the net profit that you're going to be taxed on, the amount that's taxable. Are J and K including, you answered that. Thank you, my love. I feel pressured to get an LLC. And this is a huge thing. This is my soapbox. A lot of people are pressured. You go to those Facebook groups and they talk about it all the time. Oh my God, I was going to start writing down the tax questions I saw in this Facebook group. And so many people are like, just get an LLC, just get an LLC. Like it's overwhelming, and it's an option, but it needs to be an educated decision, a planning conversation. Again, not a panic decision. 18 to 30% of net income or gross. Net income, 18 to 30% of net, I would put in there. Let's see, just making sure I didn't miss any other questions here. Okay, so your business structure decisions should be calm and informed. They shouldn't be this I feel pressured decisions at all. Again, get yourself a CPA, a financial advisor, and attorney. If you can't afford all three, go with the CPA at a minimum. And I don't say that just because I'm a CPA. Fair Maiden, I said net because you're not taxed on gross, you're taxed on net. I don't say get a CPA just because I'm a CPA. I say that because CPAs also, in order to become a CPA, we have some financial, a very little bit of legal parts of our education and our testing. And we can often refer you to other people or help make those connections if needed. I would go with the CPA first and then maybe an attorney second. I mean, you can go with an attorney, then a CPA. I guess it really doesn't matter. But I think a CPA for me would be my first stop when I'm looking for professionals. 30% net is high, but now this depends. Now, I kind of break this down in my estimated taxes PDF. It depends what your situation is. 30% is if this is your sole income and how much money are you making on the platform. If reselling is 100% what you're doing and you're not paying in to the IRS in any other way, this is the only place that money is going to come from. And it also, you have to look at what your net profit is. You've got to look at the end of the day, how much of this is even going to be taxable? Where does that fit into the overall structure of what my personal exemption is, my other deductions? So it could be up to 30%. So there is a range. It's not a one size fit all. Again, you've got to look at what is your other sources of paying into the IRS, how much money are you making, what are your expenses, all of these things. It's so disturbing, Doubletree says, and Doubletree is a CPA too, you guys. It's so disturbing for CPAs to see those tax discussions in Facebook groups. Oh my gosh, it is. And I have to bite my tongue half the time. Occasionally I lose it and I'll say something, but I have to bite my tongue because there's so much misinformation out there, you guys. Really, even with me, anything I'm saying, I mean, it comes from an educated background, but go to your CPA. I'm giving you basics to start a conversation with your CPA.
Amber T, if you're still around here, any chance that you can share with us your email address?
Not on chat and DM.
Yeah, send it to us on a DM. Please, if you're making any purchases on electronic deliveries, send us your email address on a DM so we can send you those files as soon as possible. Thank you.
So is the cost of a CPA considered a deduction or write-off? Not sure of the term. It is an expense. So the cost, your treasure chest, congratulations, you got that giveaway. The cost of your accounting and legal advice, financial advice is a legitimate business expense. When you think business expense, here's the easiest way to understand what's considered a business expense. Is that expense ordinary and necessary for your line of work? Okay. This will look different. I said this on my last show. This is another one of my pet peeves. There are people on here doing chat shows telling you there are special deductions for resellers. There is no special deductions. The IRS doesn't have a booklet out there saying, hey, y'all, here's your special reseller deductions. No, what the IRS says, business expenses, you can deduct business expenses that are ordinary and necessary to the business. That means, and this is probably the easiest way to explain this, a manufacturing company is going to buy a bulldozer. That's ordinary and necessary for their expense. Or maybe they're going to buy lumber or, wiring. Are we going to buy those things as resellers? Probably not. A bulldozer or a bunch of lumber, if that's not what we're selling, right, is not ordinary and necessary to our business, okay? Keep those two words in mind, and that should guide a lot of your business things. And then, look, the IRS is not all black and white. There's a lot of gray areas. Any questions you have, yes, you need to build a warehouse, but any questions you have, again, you're going to go back to your bookkeeper, your CPA, your accountant. Okay. I want you guys to avoid panic decisions. When you're looking at this, do not do a panic decision. Unless your death pile is really big, yes. Don't listen to, and I've talked about, don't listen to social media. And I know this is some form of social media. Again, I'm telling you, go talk to your CPA. Every single person, there are so many nuances to every single person's situation, even in a basic 1040 tax. Even a basic tax return has nuances depending on, are you married? Are you not married? Are you divorced? How many kids do you have? Are those kids related to you? Is the kid going to college? Did you buy a house? Did you have a baby? There's all these nuances just in a basic tax return where you can't give one size fits all information. You can give general information. This is what the IRS says. This is how things work. And then you need to talk to your tax preparer, your CPA, to see how all of that merges for your unique facts and circumstances. I said this in the last show, asking for help is a superpower. Do not be embarrassed or afraid to ask for help. That is a sign of strength, and it is your superpower as a business owner to recognize the fact that you don't know something and that you're asking an expert for their opinion and their advice. Don't underestimate the power that you hold to gain knowledge through asking for help. And before we close, here are some, how do you have seller support chats that provide information about shipping? Oh, do you have seller support chats that provide information about shipping? I do not have them yet. And I'm going to diverge here just a little bit. We will have them on our podcast, which is on YouTube every Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. It is called the Reselling Roundtable. It is myself, Jeremy from Green 13, and Lysandra and Tony from I Love Discounts. We joined forces, and we have a podcast on YouTube every Sunday night. My husband will put it across the screen so you can see it. There we are developing some shipping videos so that we're creating a whole library of resources for resellers. In the meantime, I would go to Living Bliss Vintage. She does specific seller support shipping shows. So she would be the one I recommend to go to and ask about shipping for immediate. But Coming up, that's our YouTube. We will have a full ton of resources. We're in the process of building out those libraries. All right, we have another question from Dawn. Are the commissions paid to Whatnot and the fees paid to Stripe considered deductible since we get paid after those are deducted? They're not. No, they are, because Dawn, those are legitimate business expenses. Your 1099 that you should have just received is gross. It's before those expenses. It's that gross number. That's what you should be recording on your books too. You should be recording the gross number of sales. Then you make you record an expense for the fees for Stripe, Whatnot, any other platforms you're on. It becomes a business expense. What you get paid out is net. Do not record net. That's cash flow. That's not gross profit. They're two very different things. You just blew my mind. It's your superpower to ask for help. Consider this steal it all you want. Go for it. I've already purchased a workbook that includes PDFs. If I purchase the 3 Excel workbooks, I'll have everything correct. The workbook does not include the PDFs. The workbook talks through these shows, but the Excels will help you. Yes. The Excels are very basic Excels for people who just kind of need a little bit of help with structure. Highway Treasures, you got that giveaway. All right, we actually got 3 other giveaways. We're going to do one final giveaway, and then we're going to go raid. Think about this. I just want to kind of sum up. Amy's Vintage, if you have not received your 1099 yet, Whatnot sent them out approximately 2 weeks ago. All the platforms are required to have them out by the last day of January, but since that's a weekend, it's actually Monday, February 2nd. So, yes, and Doubletree, she just put the requirements there. Thank you very much. You will only get a 1099 if you made 20,000 in sales and 200 transactions. If you did not meet both of those requirements, you will not get a 1099. You still must report all your income, okay? That doesn't mean you don't need to report it. You still need to report that income. Just means Whatnot wasn't required to send it to you. That's all it means. Okay. When you're thinking about structure, these are some of the kind of key things that your CPA, your financial advisor, are going to ask you. How likely are lawsuits in your industry? What are you selling? What are you doing? Am I doing something that's highly like a litigated type field, or am I not? I'm selling vintage decor. Not a lot of people are going to sue me over vintage decor, right? Okay. Are you the only owner? Do you have partners? Do you plan to have partners? How much control do you want on this business? Do you want a board of directors? Do you want to dictate everything that happens in this business? What are your short-term and long-term plans? Okay. Where are you at right now? Where do you want to go? What type of assets do you hold in the business now? What type of assets? Are you buying warehouses? Are you expanding? Are you going into brick and mortars? These are some of the questions that you need to start thinking about when going in to have these conversations with your CPA. Have your financials ready. You need to know where you are, and then you need to have some idea on where you want to go and what's happening in your business. These are some of the things they're going to be asking you when you have these discussions. What if Whatnot doesn't 1099? Are you honor system? Yes, you are on the honor system. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's totally up to you, but I would never recommend not reporting. Just report it. Just do it right, because it's going to be far more in trouble and far more costly to get caught later on. I am not. The Vintage Fox, I currently work for a large accounting firm, and it's against my contract to provide other CPA work for money. Basically, what I'm doing here is the limit of what I can do. However, if I ever decide to move away, this is kind of the backup plan, or maybe the goal down the road. So, but for now, I really do like what I do 9 to 5, and it's not something I'm quite there to give up yet. So Doubletree, though, on the other end, go check her out, message her privately. I think she owns her own firm, if I am not mistaken, or works for a firm where she may be taking clients. So message Doubletree. She's up there in the chat. And if you're still here, say something so they can follow you. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that she actually can provide services. I can hire Noel and you mentor him. All right. We're going to wrap this up. I have two thoughts.
There's an idea right there.
I have 2 thoughts to wrap this up. In summary, we're just going to kind of summarize this up. Choosing a business structure isn't about fear. It's about fit, right? You don't need to rush. You need clarity, numbers, and a plan, okay? It's about fit, not fear. No, No side clients. Oh, sorry, DoubleTree. I was trying to throw business your way. So DoubleTree's in the same boat as me. So a lot of times when we work in public accounting, me in particular, we also do audits. So there's a lot of God, my words are going against me. Not confidentiality, conflicting interest, where we can't do it. I'm sorry, no dumb questions. I am on Social Security and I'm a very small seller. Do I need to get an accountant for taxes? Okay, I feel that most people, as starting out resellers, can do their own taxes. However, it really depends on your level of independence. Thank you. You're my lifesaver today. You would think I would know independence, considering we have to affirm to this all the time. I am of the belief that most people can do their own taxes. However, I'm a CPA. To me, that's like my thing, right? I would highly suggest, particularly at the beginning of your reselling life, to meet with an accountant or a CPA or a very experienced bookkeeper. There is a difference when you go bookkeeper, accountant, CPA. I am not nagging on putting down any one of them. There is just differences in what they do. So I would highly recommend at least talking through, making sure you understand everything. And there's a lot of software. Amber, you got that giveaway. Congratulations. There's a lot of software out there that can help you and kind of walk you through.
Congratulations.
There is also the irs.gov. Hello, Smile Golden. There is a lot of, go to irs.gov. There's a lot of publications out there. Type in small business, and there are booklets that walk you through where you can read. If you can read and follow instructions, you probably can do this. It's good to have those connections when you have questions, to call somebody up and say, hey, I'm just not quite understanding this. Because when you're reading the IRS stuff, they're very specific. Every word has a meaning. If it says and, it's not and or, it's and. If it's, so you've got to kind of get used to the way it's written. And local and state taxes, I have zero clue on this. There you go. And just talking to somebody can kind of maybe make you more comfortable. So I do think you should have a professional in your corner. It's a smart move, especially as you grow, especially if you have plans of growing. And before you start doing an LLC or anything, absolutely talk to somebody.
If you missed part of our show, you can always catch the entire show and past shows on our YouTube channel. I'm going to put it on the screen for you.
Yes, all of our shows are on YouTube. Thank you so much for the tip. That is so sweet of you. So do you think a person can file their own taxes and not probably yes. If you feel that you can read instructions and you're, educated enough to do that, absolutely. If you are the type of person who's like, I hate taxes, I don't want to know about them, like they confuse me, it's probably best to get help, right? We have a
that's part of the glowy show for tomorrow. So if you want to see it up close, come join us tomorrow.
Yes. We have a family business. Crane Company files an S Corp. Can my whatnot business put on the same personal? Your whatnot business, if you have not created an LLC for your whatnot business or any type of legal structure for your whatnot business, it would go on a Schedule C, and it's separate from the S Corp. The S Corp is going to issue you a K-1 that's reported in a different manner than you would report your Schedule C. So there are two different things, both on your personal return. And there are tons of resources online, you guys. I really think you need to have somebody in your corner. Real quick, before we go, I want to kind of give a difference between a bookkeeper, an accountant, and a CPA. For instance, I have a master's in accounting, but I have a CPA for mine. There you go. Yep. And the rules change. The rules changed in the middle of this year. Our 1099 rules changed halfway through 2025. Rules change all the time. CPA, so let's talk about the differences. Hotel, I'll get to you in 1 second, that question. A bookkeeper understands debits and credits. They understand some of the flow of the transactions in the business. No special education is needed to be a bookkeeper, just usually experience. And again, I'm not saying that a bookkeeper is bad in any way, shape, or form. I have done all of these jobs. I have evolved through these jobs in my life, my career. Then you get an accountant. Accountant usually has some college. A little bit deeper knowledge, is usually doing a little bit more continuing education type courses. Then you have a CPA. CPA is a certified public accountant. We have to take 4 tests in order to get our license, and then we are required, in my state, it's 80 hours of continuing education every 2 years in order to keep my license. So We have a more vast area of knowledge that we are required to know and understand. Those are the differences. We also have more of an ethical and legal responsibility because of our licenses that we have to maintain. And do I recommend using QuickBooks? I am probably going to be the one weird CPA out here telling you I don't recommend anything. What I recommend is what you are going to use within your skill level and that you are going to use consistently. If you are a computer person and you love automated reports and you like doing things on the computer, they even have a mobile app for QuickBooks now. By all means, use that. There's also other like Reseller Genie and other software that is very good. If you're not computer and you're like, look, I'm old school, I like pencil and paper, then do pencil and paper. If I use an Excel as a CPA, I use simple Excel because that's what works best for me. That's what I'm going to do consistently and regularly. So you have to find what works for you. QuickBooks in itself is a wonderful program. If you already file your own taxes, doing your taxes yourself online, if you get confused, reach out for help. There you go. You can reach out to Crystals too. She's a bookkeeper and can help you track your income and expenses, but cannot file your taxes. Exactly. There's different levels, and in order to file taxes, you do have to be somebody that's registered with the IRS, not as your own, but like if you're paying, having people pay you to do their taxes. Yes, work within your comfort zone. I could tell you to use the fanciest software in the world, but if you're not a techie person, that's not going to work for you. It didn't work for me. I actually used QuickBooks all last year, decided I wasn't happy and I wanted to go back to Excel because that's really what works for me. All right, you guys, did you want to say anything? It looks like you're about to say something, my love. Go for it.
Miss Kelly, can you send me over DM the choices for your 3 PDFs, please? Thank you.
Okay. Y'all, we are over time here. I do have to get to my 9 to 5. I do have to work today because I called out sick for the last 2 days. So I got a lot of catching up to do. I like to close with the weekly CEO affirmation. So I always have it on my kind of screen beforehand. I'm so glad you got here too. Y'all, real quick, Smile Golden. I'm going to be a co-host on her show this week. Check it out. Go bookmark it. All right. Our CEO affirmation of the week is, I honor where my business is today while planning for where it's going. Simple, informed choices build strong foundations. I want to make my show today about book. Yes, absolutely, Crystal. Okay, go ahead and put it in there. You guys, Crystal's talking about bookkeeping today. So Crystal's Vintage, put a little high in there before we raid so people can follow you to go hear about bookkeeping today.
Hotel lobby, send me a DM with your email address and your choices, please. Just send us a DM.
All right, y'all. I'm not too sure who's on. Have a great weekend. We're going to go raid. There you go. Crystal's Vintage. She has a show at 3 today. She is a bookkeeper, and she's going to talk about it from her perspective in the bookkeeping field. All right, let's see who's on. It is. Let's go see Natural State of High. She's doing her For the Win Friday show. I'm going to go see Natural State of High. All right. Bye, everybody.